Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call the ACRD Board of Directors meeting to order at 1:30 p.m. I'd like to acknowledge that we're conducting this meeting on the traditional territories of the Shuswap First Nation and the Huipachesset First Nation. There's notice to attendees and delegates that the meeting is being recorded and live streamed through the Regional District website. Before we select a chair, we're just going to do a round of introductions. So I'm Heather Zenner, Manager of Administrative Services, and I'll go to my right, Cindy.
Cindy Solda, City of Port Alberni, the alternate for Deb. Thank you.
I'm Randy LaCourcier. I'm the alternate for Sprout Lake.
And good afternoon, I'm Mike Sparrow. I'm the regional representative for Cherry Creek.
Good afternoon, I'm Daniel Sayan. I am the CAO for the ACRD.
Good afternoon, Jenny Brunn, General Manager of Community Services.
And good afternoon, Terry Fong, Chief Financial Officer.
Great. And online, Director Siga.
Veda Sega, Director for Area C.
Thank you. Director Boyko.
Fred Boyko, Director for Beaufort.
Thank you. Director Roth.
Good afternoon, Susan Roth, Director for Beaver Creek.
Director Johnson.
Afternoon, Kirsten Johnson, Director for the Toquat Nation.
And Director Steer.
Yes, good afternoon. Tom Steer, appointed Director, District of Tofino.
And Director Minions.
Good afternoon, Shari Minions, Mayor for the City of Port Alberni.
Thank you. And Director Mastrangelo.
Good afternoon, Lavana Mastrangelo, coming from Campbell River and representing Ucluelet First Nation. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And as our chair and vice chair are away, we're looking for a chair from a member of the board.
I'll make a motion that Mike Sparrow does the chair today.
Thank you. Seconded by Director Solda. Director Sparrow, do you accept the nomination?
I will accept the nomination.
Okay, perfect. Then I'll invite you to come up and chair the board meeting.
There you go, Mike.
Okay. I thank you for your patience in my move. Everything seems to be running accurately this time. So we are on the agenda. We are approval of the agenda. Is that right? Is there any additions from the corporate officer?
Yes, I have sent 2 emails with correspondence for information. So there is a support letter from Russell and Jennifer Dyson and from Kaylee Pugh regarding the Alberni Valley Chamber of Commerce. And there is a 3rd piece of correspondence from Director Boyko with a graph highlighting the City of Port Alberni's contributions to the Alberni Valley Chamber of Commerce. And so those items will be added under item 6 if the board chooses to accept them.
Okay, thank you for that. Any more additions from the directors? No? Okay. So can I have a motion to accept the revised agenda? So moved by Director Solda, seconded by Director LaCourcier. Thank you. All those in favor of the revised agenda? Thank you. All is carried. Thank you. So any declarations at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on. Adoption of the minutes from 4A, Board of Directors meeting, February 26th. Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, can I get adoption of the minutes? So moved by Director Solda, seconded by Director LaCourcier. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. 4B, Agricultural Development Committee meeting, February 18th, 2025. Any errors or omissions? Oh, Director Boyko, you have your hand up.
I want to discuss something that's not an error or omission, but something that came out of the meeting that we need to talk about here as directors. It will be regarding the agricultural tourism regarding short-term rentals. I just want to make sure I can talk about that and then we can have a discussion. Thank you.
Can we put that in the agenda somewhere or we do it now? Officer?
Yep, you can add it to the agenda. Just let me see. You could add under number 11, late business or unfinished business.
Okay, we're gonna add it under unfinished business or late business because we didn't amend the agenda when you had your hand up. Is that okay?
I guess that will be sufficient. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So we are back to Agricultural Development Committee meeting, February 18, 2025. Is that? We can move. Move by Director Solda, seconded by Director Corsier. All those in favor? Oh. Okay. Opposed? That is carried. We have the parcel tax roll meeting held February 26, 2025. Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, can I get a motion to move the agenda? So moved, Director Solda, seconded by Director Corsier. All those in favor? Thank you. D, Banfield Area Services Committee meeting held March 5th, 2025. Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, can I get that moved? Director Siga. And seconded, Director Solda, thank you. All those in favor? Opposed, so moved. E, Committee of the Whole meeting held March 5th, 2025. Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, can I get moved? Thank you. Director Solda, seconded by Director Corsier. All those in favor? So moved. We're down to number 5, petition, delegations and presentations, 10-minute maximum. 5A, we have 3 presentations today. We have Colin Fry, President, Colin Fry and Associates Consulting Limited, presenting Agricultural Land Commission application AD 240027-825 McCoy Lake Road. He's online? Yes. Okay. Up to you. Go ahead. But I think you're on mute.
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Kylie. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to the board for giving me an opportunity to speak to this this application. The delegation was as a result of the regional district advising me that they're inclined to deny the application for subdivision, and offered the opportunity to speak to that. So I will do that, and I will be primarily addressing the staff report that I don't know if you have them there, but I'll make reference to the pages, and you can consult with the report later if you don't have them. What I'd like to point out first is absent in the staff report is a topographic survey that we had commissioned as part of this application review. It was done by J.E. Anderson and Associates in July of 2023. And it provides the most detailed mapping regarding topography that the property has. In the staff report, there's a good topographic map on page 9. However, it was done at a scale of 1 to 5,000. The J.E. Anderson and Associate map is at 1 to 2,000, so it provides significantly more detail, and it was not provided in the staff report. The other thing I want to really speak to is the purpose of the application. And the purpose of the application is really to get an audience before the commission to have a discussion, an in-depth discussion regarding the agricultural capability and agricultural suitability of the area under application. May I just back up a sec for those who may not know, my former life, I worked at the Agricultural Land Commission for 35 years in the capacity of executive director and then subsequently as chief tribunal officer. So, so anyway, just so you have my background. We wanted to get before the commission because, as you'll see from the aerial photography, there's very good land to the east that has been developed for farming, but the forested area under application has significant topographic constraints to that. And I'll speak to some further maps in the report. I'd like to draw your attention to the map. These are pages 11 and 12 in the staff report. One is an page 11 is an ortho photo, satellite imagery superimposed with the agricultural capability polygons. These are derived from the published agricultural capability mapping provided by the commission. The page 12 is an actual copy of a section of the agricultural capability map from the commission. And why I draw this to your attention and why there is doubt in our mind regarding the quality of the property as it's currently rated is on the page 12 map. You'll see that the ALR is outlined in yellow. The property under application is outlined in red. Outlined in black immediately to the west is a property that was excluded from the ALR in 2001. What I'm drawing your attention to is, and it's in the rationale for the application, is that a lot of the agricultural capability polygons that involve the current subject property are also evident in a similar or equal fashion to the land that was excluded. And this is mapping that was derived or created in 1984. It's very good at a certain level of mapping. But once you delve deeper into this and do a more thorough investigation, you'll find that the ratings, at least in the case of the area that was excluded, were found to be substantially poorer. And I'll draw the last map I'll draw your attention to is on page 26. It's the very last map. This was the agricultural capability mapping that was generated from a site-specific review by a professional agrologist that shows that the properties, the agricultural capabilities, when you compare them from page 26 to page 12, you'll find that they're substantially different. And when in the case of the property to the west, when that was determined, it changed the commission's mind from refusing the exclusion to approving it. So I want to point that out. I think it's critical because I did sit in the Agricultural Advisory Committee's meeting, and that there's, that review, and I have full respect for the Agricultural Advisory Committee and their members, but also respectfully, I believe that the issues that we are trying to raise with the commission, and the commission is the agency responsible for determining agricultural capability and suitability of certain lands, is to have that discussion with them because of what happened next door. And what happened next door was the initial review by the commission used the agricultural capability mapping. And as the mapping is more positive, it resulted in the commission saying no to the application. But when the report was done and said, well, wait a sec, the agricultural capability mapping is not correct. We believe this requires another review. They did review it on reconsideration and approve the exclusion. So when you have the same capabilities on this the current subject property, and now showing the topography on this land, there is a reasonable argument to be made to the commission that it's not good enough to use the current agricultural capability mapping to make an assessment of this property. So and again, we were trying to get to the commission to have that dialogue, because evidence is suggesting that the ratings that are currently on the existing agricultural capability mapping may not accurately reflect the actual on the ground conditions. Case in point, the main limiting factor we're looking at right now is topography, and that much of that area that's under application, when you're looking at the agricultural capability map on page 12, it's not even identifying topography as a limiting factor. And in the staff report had even indicated that the area around the clearing and the greenhouses on this property is the area of most significant topography. That agricultural capability rating, when you look at the map, does not identify topography as a limiting factor. And to the extent that is quite a severe slope and precipitous, I would have imagined that topography would have played a more significant role in determining agricultural capability. So this is a very technical discussion we were wanting to have. Now, you may also ask, well, why didn't you do an agricultural capability review like the one that was done in 2001 as part of this application? Well, the simple answer for that was that I was of the view that was probably not going to be needed for the regional district's review, because it wouldn't. I would have believed that the regional district would have said, well, there is merit to this argument. Go have that argument. And then if we need to prepare a report for the commission, one will be done. But I've counseled my clients. These reports are very expensive. There's no guarantee the regional district's going to refer it to the commission. And in that case, my client could be out $20,000-$25,000 for a review that doesn't even get to the commission and the audience that we're trying to achieve. It wasn't our intent to shortchange the regional district with regards to information. We tried to tailor the proposal consistent with the zoning, which we did, which led to staff's recommendation to be forwarded to the commission for review, and knowing full well that once we get to the commission, we're going to have to really get into the weeds with respect to this discussion, and it may be required that we have to get an agrologist report done. But at least at that point, we're in front of the agricultural decision makers. They've requested it, we'll provide it. But at this point in time, I was running and juggling the need for information with also cognizant of the cost involved with it at this point in time. And I said my biggest fear would have been that we prepared this report essentially for the commission's benefit, only finding out after the fact that it won't get to the commission. So again, it wasn't an effort of avoidance. It was an effort of trying to provide the regional district with as much information as possible, showing that we have a legitimate agricultural inquiry that we want to put before the commission to have that discussion. So
you're going to wrap it up because your 10 minutes is up a few minutes ago. Just trying to let you know.
Okay, I'll wrap it up now then. I've said everything I think I need to say and given you the reference points, so I'm happy with that.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Okay.
Any questions? We have a question from Director Boyko. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So Colin, I was in the meeting where this application was voted against by the members of the Agricultural Advisory Committee for a couple reasons.
Yeah.
And now you're comparing this property to the one next door and discussing elevations. So the maps that are provided to us right now have zero information about the property next door elevation wise. So we would have to go and figure out if there's any difference in there.
No,
But
no, if
just
I'm-
for the other members of the committee, I'll discuss why the people that were in that meeting did not choose to refer this to the board for future recommendations. But there's two local farmers that are very familiar with this particular property, and they say that it is well suited for future agricultural use, and removing it is not in the best interest of the Agricultural Advisory Committee. So we need to talk about that. Please go ahead.
Is it me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, and I was at that meeting too. I don't have any background whether or not the individuals visited the property or whatever, but that's not the point. And secondly, we're not asking to exclude this land. What I'm saying, and I'm also not making a direct extrapolation to the property next door. I'm not comparing the two. I'm comparing the issue with the capability ratings. I'm drawing a similarity to it, is to by saying that, okay, if that was originally thought to be good land and it was proven not to be, right? And that was the audience for that decision was the commission. If we're going to have that same argument, and you know, hey, I've been around the block a few times and I know the commission. I mean, if the commission turns around and says, we don't agree, at least my clients have had that discussion. And with all due respect to the AAC members, you know, they're basing a lot of their judgment also on the staff report and the information contained within. We've had surveyors traverse that property and say that, you know, there is significant topography in there, and the property is basically divided. And as you see, you'd have to go all the way around to Sterling Arm Drive to get from one side to the other. So I want to be clear that I'm not saying, oh, because what they did to the west, we should do here. I'm saying that's raised an interesting question that may sow some doubt in the fact is the land as good as it is or as purported to be? And all I'm saying is we want to go to the next level. We want to speak to the commission. We want to provide that level of detail, but I can't provide that level of detail in all good conscience to the regional district and then have the regional district not pass a forwarding resolution, because then my client would just have a receipt, nothing else.
Okay, thank you for that. Director Boyko, you have another question?
Yeah, I just want to follow up just so everyone's on the same page, because it was a fairly long meeting that, because it's not recorded and because minutes were not provided, they don't have all the details of someone that was there. But so there's two local farmers that have direct knowledge of the property, and they said it's suitable for agriculture, and that's why they were opposed to it. But basically what you're saying is the agricultural capability map could be incorrect, that's provided, and the staff report could also be incorrect. So we want to potentially ignore what the Agricultural Advisory Committee put forward and the staff report and the agricultural capabilities, and work towards subdividing this property into 6 residential parcels. But what you want to do is have the ability for the Agricultural Land Commission to be able to look into this in further detail and then make the decision rather than us shut it down at this point. Is that what you're trying to say?
Essentially, but I think also what we're saying is that, and again, we would have loved to have had the ability to provide more detailed information at the front end of this, but again, it's very costly, and again, I also want to say I'm not suggesting the staff report is wrong. I'm not suggesting that the AAC members are wrong. What I'm suggesting is that there needs to be a level of review to effectively make the determination. As I said, if it goes to the commission and the commission says, yeah, maybe there is a change, but it's not sufficient to change our mind, then that's what will happen. But and I'm not saying the agricultural capability is wrong either. It is a map that is very good at a level of detail it's intended to be used at. But once you get to an on-site inspection by a professional agrologist at a very detailed level, then that would trump the published ratings because it's far more accurate. And all we're saying is that there's likely in the cards that we're going to have to do that report. But I want to do that report. I want to make sure that the information provided by that report gets to the commission.
Okay, thank you for that.
All right.
Daniel would like to speak.
And thank you. Just given the connection to the staff report, I just think it's important to flag that the report that is drafted is based on the information received, and I appreciate you following up to say that it's not incorrect, because it's not incorrect.
I know.
Based on the information that is received, that it is 100% correct, and I think the recommendation is a sound recommendation. It'll be up to the board to decide whether or not they agree. The problem that I have with this argument is that you're asking to go against a recommendation of staff based on information staff do not have, based on the hope that with that new information, somebody else will make a different choice. And Colin, I've made dozens of applications with the ALC, and actually to you, when I was working for the village of Pemberton, in one of the largest contiguous class 1 soils in BC. And I can say that my experience with the Agricultural Land Commission is that they're highly critical of local government advancing applications that don't actually have merit. And I like, frankly, in the absence of the additional information you're talking about, and I apologize for the cost for that, it's hard for staff to say that there is merit. And it is a leap of faith to ask for the elected officials, which is completely within your right to ask. But like, as staff, we certainly can't recommend it.
But the staff has recommended it. Staff has recommended this one be forwarded to the commission.
Well,
Well, am I reading it wrong?
Surprise for you then. Yeah.
No, am I reading it wrong? Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, fair enough.
No,
I was going with our agricultural committee recommendation.
Okay, yeah. But no, I wasn't being critical of the staff report. They're using the same information I have, right? All I'm saying is, in my experience, and I can go back to my experience. As a matter of fact, I was involved in the fine-tuning review of this area when I first started. But what I'm saying is, the maps, and I've always said this, the maps are only as good as at the level they're intended to be used at. If you're and the agricultural capability maps generalize as you grow, as if from a 1 to 50,000 map to a 1 to 25,000 map to a 1 to 5,000 map. As you're going down, they're getting far more accurate, right? So I want to make that abundantly clear. I'm not being critical of staff or saying they're wrong, right? Fair. And then what we did is we said, I just assumed that, okay, the staff's recommended, it's compliant with the current OCP and zoning bylaw. And we did not intend to do anything other than that. And then I would say that, look, I think I've raised enough argument to say, is a further investigation of the agricultural capability warranted? In my opinion, I think it is. And I'll leave it at that.
And I agree with that opinion. I think it is.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any more directors have any questions? Hearing none, and I thank you for your presentation, Colin.
Okay, and thank you for the time.
No problem.
Okay.
Now we're into 5B. Roger Haggerty, President, Dave Beecroft, Vice President, Dwayne Hearn, Director, Alberni Valley Drag Race Association, progress update on finding a permanent race facility. And you two have 10-minute time limit, and I will let you know at the end. And if you need more, we'll figure it out.
Remember to turn on your microphone. Thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, sorry. Thanks, Chair. We won't need 10 minutes. And Dwayne Hearn couldn't make it today. Thanks for allowing us to speak today, Chair and Directors. Mike said, I'm Roger Haggerty, president of the Alberta Valley Drag Race Association, and this is Dave Beecroft. We've come here today to ask regional directors for their continued support for our goal. Our goal of providing a facility that will bring prosperity, financial abundance to our community while providing a safe, entertaining family events. We've always had the support and help from the ACRD staff. Actually, the last couple of years, especially when we were working with another piece of property, and this last year a lot. The staff has helped us mitigate many obstacles. The staff has helped us in bringing all the parties together with the idea to build a facility in and around the airport lands without inconveniencing the Alberni Valley Regional Airport in any way and with zero impact on the airport operations. We have supported the Shashot and Hoopachesset and the City of Port Alberni. We would never have been able to work through the bureaucracy without the ACRD staff. I need to say this little personal bit. Without the help and direction and ideas from Daniel and Mike that helped us stay positive and find solutions to all the roadblocks has been greatly appreciated. We wouldn't have got this far without them. Our request to the directors is to have the funding kept in the 2025 budget for the ACRD staff to continue to work with the Alberni Valley Drag Race Association. This is the support we need from the directors so we can keep moving forward. We have the support of the community, as you may have seen by the many decals and posters displayed around town. In the past, we have circulated petitions to bring Thunder Valley back to Port Alberni around town, which we had a tremendous response to. We received hundreds of letters of support from citizens of the valley and people from out of town. We have the support of other island drag race associations, North Island Timing Association, South Island Straightliners, and Vancouver Island Motorsports Association. In the past, races at Thunder in the Valley have consisted of up to 270 racers and 3,000 spectators per day. 65% of the spectators are from out of town. Those 65% bought groceries, gas, food, and sometimes lodging for our event. This is a huge win for our town. When we did the study in 2004, it was shown that the economic impact to the valley was between $1.2 to $1.7 million for the weekend. I think with today's inflation, that would be very substantial, a bit more. In 2021, we held a successful cruise through the valley to keep the interest of the community towards the Drag Racing Association. And we had 180 vehicles and managed to raise $15,000, which we donated to the West Coast General Hospital and the Shot First Nations. The next year, we also had another successful cruise, which we kept the funds we raised in hopes for securing a site with Mosaic Forest. We used these funds to have a sound study done on a potential site, but we were unsuccessful in negotiating with them on that property. We are working on holding some kind of event this year. We'll be holding the event to raise awareness and funds received with our future project. We are hoping to have everyone work together with us to be successful. Last little finish up here. Be very clear, the Alberni Valley Drag Race Association has no plans on trying to use existing runway now or in the future. That's not in any of our ideas. Thank you for letting us present today. We're looking forward to working further with the ACRD.
Well, thank you for that.
Any questions?
Are there any questions from directors at all? Susan, do you have your hand up? Go ahead.
I think that we may have approved the funding for in this year's budget. I don't know, Terry, is that true?
Daniel? Okay, Daniel.
It is in the budget. But the budget only gets officially approved on the 26th of March. And so it's got to survive to the end of if it's approved as is, then yes, it is in there. And if I'm understanding Roger and Dave, they're asking that we make sure we keep it in there.
Okay.
What was said is that these three, Debbie as well, individuals have been highly professional and very well organized. And so a real pleasure from a staff perspective to be able to work with them.
Thank you. And I look forward to it too. I'm totally in favor. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Michael and then Director Silva.
Yes, thank you, Chair. It's good to actually have an update on what's happening, even if it's coming from the Drag Racing Society, because the director's basically been in the dark for a lot of the past year on at any direction that's been happening. So it's good to have an update. And moving forward, it would be good to have a bit more frequent of an update, maybe every quarter or something like that, even just a staff note to see what's happening. But I'm glad to see that some progress is taking place. Thank you.
Good, thank you. You want to add on to that?
Yeah, I think in the next couple of weeks, I hope within the next couple of weeks, have more to discuss about our event for this year that we're planning. We have to wait for some legalities to get ironed out, and then we'll be able to talk about that.
Great, thank you. Looking forward to it. And Director Solda.
Just a quick question to staff. So the public that's sitting here, could they, you just say how much is in the budget allocated for it?
It is a staff allocation, and I believe the allocation was 300 hours.
That's correct. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Are there any further questions? Hearing none, well, thank you for your report. And
Thank you for your time. We look for your support.
Okay. Item C. Jolene Dick, Chief Executive Officer, Alberni Valley Chamber of Commerce, requesting grant and aid funding increase to Alberni Valley and Banfield grant category. Same thing, 10-minute time limit, but let's when we get to the end, we'll see if you need more.
Thank you. I'd appreciate your support to help me keep time. Hello, I'm Jolene Dick. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Alberni Valley Chamber of Commerce. Hello, directors. Thank you for having me and your staff for accommodating me to present today on the request that we have to the Board of Directors is we intend to apply to the grant and aid application due April 30th. And we recognize that your funding pot allocated in your budget for 2025 is $78,000. We have a shortfall in funding. We used to get $89,000 from the city of Port Alberni. So our request will be larger than that. So we're putting in this presentation to make the case if there's any room to expand so that our request doesn't supersede any other deserving groups in the Alberni Valley and Banfield area. Additionally, the secondary request for the directors is to consider this be a regional district service and get this as a permanent line in your budget. So I'm going to walk through my presentation and then we'll do questions at the end, I think. And so I will quickly try and get through this here. I also want to thank supporters in the audience in the gallery today. We have our Director of Operations, Elliot Drew. We have our lead ambassador, Ian Staton. We have the chair of the Alberni Valley Tourism Association, Peter. And Peter Kaige is also here. So I just want to thank them for their support and the people that have submitted letters of support that are included in your late items agenda. So who we are, we're the Alberni Valley Chamber of Commerce, and we are a not-for-profit society. We're actually incorporated underneath the Board of Trade Act federally amongst other chambers. We're in Section 2, which for legislative nerds, it just kind of means that we have to follow the bylaws that the federal government formed us underneath. So our vision for the Alberni Valley is a vibrant and prosperous, business-friendly community. And what we do is we keep our community connected. We host networking events, business excellence awards, advocacy, member support, and benefits. That's kind of your bread and butter traditional Chamber of Commerce activities. Some chambers have initiated tourism bureaus, and we initiated ours in 1982. And then the Visitor Center, the first edition, opened July 1st, 1983. And there has been visitor services being delivered from that property from 2533 Port Alberni Highway ever since then. We also operate McLean Mill National Historic Site underneath a fee-for-service contract. So we have been the designated organization to deliver visitor information services. We do own the land and property, and through Island Coastal Economic Trust funding, we did reopen this building in 2011 to its current format today. The role and activities of a visitor information center. So we provide personal trip planning. We have brochures and promotional materials. We promote local businesses, and I want to touch on where people may think that we have only promoted chamber members. That's not true. We promote all businesses and we help all businesses. We are a member-based organization. We do have currently 220 members, but we are the voice of business, and that means we're the voice of business for chamber members and future members. Our role became very important during the road closure and fire of 2023. So we do provide real-time travel updates in partnership with the ACRD Emergency Program, in partnership with the City of Port Alberni and Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure. So we will relay and distribute materials, official materials, to our network and to the public and traveling public. So we do engage with many visitors that come through our doors. It's actually if you're not aware, our doors are closed right now for the month of March and likely indefinitely until we can get some stable and secure funding. So we do engage with many visitors and we would like to continue to do so. We also collaborate on marketing. The Chamber of Commerce, we have been blended with tourism for far too long, and we know that, but it is that sector that is growing the fastest in this province and in this community. So twice now, the Chamber of Commerce has advocated for the MRDT, and twice we have successfully, had Alberni Valley Tourism get back on track. And so the MRDT has been collected in this community again as of February 1st, 2023. So on the marketing collaboration, that is Alberni Valley Tourism's role, but we do provide feedback and advice to partners to make sure that information is accurate. Right now, the no-go that we all agree on is we are not advertising hole in the wall. And we hope to come back to you with some solutions to make sure that we can put that. You can't put the cat back in the bag, but it's out there. But it's a safety concern. We will not be directing people to that tourism asset in the regional district. We also are a reseller of daily and annual Pacific Rim National Park passes. And so lots of people come in to buy those day passes or annual passes and the federal park pass. So we do a lot of visitor information servicing. We have been the delegated organization to do this. We believe in this service. We don't always have to be the ones to deliver it. But right now we're in a holdover where we want to get this grant and funding to strategically plan what this looks like in the future. A little snippet of our website, that's portalbernivisitorcenter.ca. We have a beautiful event calendar that our staff has now updated. There's more events since we took the screenshot, but at the location, we have clean and accessible staffed bathrooms. We have an outdoor picnic area. We have a Port Alberni photo op, free Wi-Fi. Parking could use we do have parking, but for buses and RVs, it is difficult. We do track how many buses do come to the visitor center, and we have gift shop and our dedicated website and social channels. So we're here to ask for an increase to that funding pot to the grant and aid. And part of that application is the question of what are the benefits? Why should you fund us when we submit a grant application? And why should you consider increasing that budget for 2025 when I'm sure you're thinking very hard about other areas that are very deserving? So we, the social impact is we're a community hub. We are a resource for residents and future residents. So we do get lots of people that come in and say, I've never been here before. And they'll pick up some materials and information guides and maps and trail maps. And so we act as a conduit to share up-to-date information on restaurants when they're open, who's closed, who's open Sundays, who is open late nights when some of us may be in meetings pretty late. So we have that social impact for the community. The economic impact is we are an economic driver. Each time someone comes in a visitor center, they're likely to spend 2 times more than if they haven't walked into our doors. So we love telling them about all of our amazing assets that we have and our local businesses. Now, more than ever, is a time to shop local. People are looking for that, and we have that knowledge. Just the other day, before we closed, we had a visitor come in. They're often coming to the coast. They're coming to this regional district no matter what. But often they're going to Tofino or Ucluelet. But we are seeing a trend where people are coming directly to Port Alberni. They're like, what is here? I didn't know that was here. I didn't know how many things you had to do. And then we're encouraging them to stay longer, that there were so much things to do, that they need to spend the night to do the Francis Barkley. They need to spend the night to go do this hike and that hike and so forth. So we do extend visitor stays when they come. And we work with Destination BC, Alberni Valley Tourism, and our West Coast Chamber colleagues and their DMOs to enhance our offerings and work together. I think I am going too slow. So we promote trail guides. We promote Bear Smart, Adventure Smart, Leave No Trace. Quick slide on how many cars are passing by us right now. I do not know why those numbers are incomplete. Perhaps they only started collecting in May, and perhaps whoever's job it is to update hasn't updated since October. But that's the amount of traffic that are actually at the Tofino and Ucluelet junction that are for sure driving by the Alberni Valley first. How do we compare? We have had 9,400 people come to our visitor center in 2024. That is the equivalent of how many went to Parksville and Qualicum combined. The funding challenge, we had a contract termination. Now we don't know if we're going to get funding, and this impacts our ability to open the doors. So this is why we're asking to look at that grant and aid funding pot to go higher. Our requirements, we do get 23,000 from Destination BC. We have a grant application for the federal jobs grant. That could be a shocker of how much I want to ask for is 95,500 in our grant and aid. And we will apply to the co-op grant, and we will ask our partners at Alberni Valley Tourism and Port Authority for contributions as well. But they won't be able to fund the entire gap that is missing for us for this year, which is 60%. So these operating hours, we're optimistic, likely not going to happen. We might be closed for May as well until we get some certainty. So that's 3 months of not having connections with visitors. Our staff are trained, they have local knowledge, and they have cultural awareness. And our plan programs were a perks program. Oopsies, sorry. Sorry about that. Was a perks program. So I went to a visitor center in Vancouver where there was a coupon where I said, I need a quiet coffee shop to go to. And they had a little perk that they handed out. And so we wanted to be able to track referrals better this year. We wanted to do a FAM tour because there's so many amazing new business and offerings in Port Alberni. We want to do that in Banfield as well now that the road is clear and there's higher traffic coming to our visitor center asking about the Banfield Road. So we are supporting that region. And then, like I said, our events calendar. On hold, our materials are outdated. We wanted to do a trail and adventure guide in partnership with local not-for-profits like the Rescue Squad and Outdoor Club, because the trail map is the same trail guide that I've been using since I was 16 when I had my job at the Visitor Information Center. So we know that those trails need an update and we need funding, and we think that that would be a revenue generation tool. Our ambassador program is on hold in its current format, and we would revisit what our volunteer program looks like. We're working on a grant up project to update our welcome map in partnership with Sechaude and Hupechaza First Nation. This was outstanding from last year, and it will remain outstanding until we are able to get some funding to complete the project in consultation and meaningfully with both nations. So the last part I just want to touch on is that we are forging our relationship with the Banfield Chamber of Commerce, and we are working with Huu-ay-aht First Nation and Huu-ay-aht group of businesses. Our plan was to hire a Huu-ay-aht person so that they could be trained up for when the Huu-ay-aht peoples open their cultural and visitor center. And so that would be kind of like a seamless transition where someone would have experience working with us first and then moving forward. So I think I appreciate the extra few minutes. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. A little more than 10 minutes. That's okay. I have one question for our directors. it says here, you said 74,000 was given to us from grant and aid from the regional district.
No, I was saying that that is your allocation in the budget for 2025 for the whole funding pot. I think you've changed your grant and aid process, and I think your staff might be itching to say we have received $4,000 from the ACRD in the past.
Yeah, 4,000 came from the electoral areas. So I was wondering, that number at 74,000, does that include the McLean's Mill portion, or is that a separate budget line item for you? Not sure. Okay. Oh, voluntary.
Are you talking about the McLean Mill contribution that we provide? Because that doesn't go to the Chamber of Commerce, that goes to the city of Port Alberni. So that is separate than the 74,000,
Okay,
if
but-
that's what you're asking.
Yeah, they are the
Okay.
overseers of McLean's Mill, we'll call it. So it's not, this number's not part of that number, so I'm asking. Is that correct?
Right, the 30,000 that's in our budget for the McLean Mill grant and aid goes to the city of Port Alberni. The city would have to answer, or Jolene, about what the contribution is with their contract for that portion, yes.
Would you like me to answer? Okay, yes, so I think this is a communication thing that we need to be better at. The Chamber of Commerce, we're the voice of business, we're in service for our members. And the McLean Mill is a outsourced service that we have a contract to do. And same with the Visitor Information Center, it's an outsourced service that we do on their behalf. So the amount that we have for McLean Mill is a separate contract. And so if you're curious about that, the 2024 amount that we received from the city of Port Alberni was $130,000. And in 2025, that goes down by $10,000 to $120,000. I do want to speak to the, I don't know what chart was circulated, but I know that there's question on how much is the city giving to the Chamber of Commerce. So like I said, there's two separate contracts. One was for $89,000, $167,000 for the visitor services contract, the same amount that we've had since 2022. We were looking for a 4 to 7% increase because we're not immune to inflation. And so that has stayed the same at 89,000 since the contract ended in 2022 and it was in holdover. For McLean Mill, we have our contract until the end of 2026. So in the year 2026, we will receive $110,000. And then it's up to us if we want to stay in the business of operating these fee-for-service contracts.
Thank you. That was a question. Yes. So I have Director Boyko and then Director Vinians, and that's it this time. Okay. You can stop sharing your screen, please. Thank you. Okay, Director Boyko.
Thank you. I emailed everybody basically how much the city's been putting towards the Alberta Valley Chamber of Commerce over the past 15, 20 years, just to see some trends there. But my question is this: there was a large increase in 2019, 2020 that basically doubled the amount sent to the Alberta Valley Chamber of Commerce from the city, from basically 100 grand a year to 250 to 300 grand per year. What changed at that point? And how did you operate the tourism center on the reduced funding level, that if we go back to a lesser level than we are now, what's changed since then? Have we added more staff? Have we built another tourism center? Have we built another chamber of commerce? That's my questions. How did we actually operate at 100 grand per year level 5 years ago? But now if we're going to 200 grand per year, how can we not operate? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I'm looking to Elliot, but in 2020 is when the Chamber of Commerce actually got the McLean Mill contract. So that's when McLean Mill became a line item in our budget, and that's when the city would have transferred funds directly from the city of Port Alberni to the Chamber of Commerce for both McLean Mill and for the Visitor Information Center. I do believe in the past we were funded for less. And so there was an increase sought from my predecessor to the city to get that up to I think, $89,000. that was going up by 1 or 2% in that contract in 2018 when that was renewed. I think it went up like 1.2% from 2018, 2019, 2020. And so there might be, if you look at the financials, I don't know which page, but I can speak to that in 2023, there will be a higher contribution directly from the city of Port Alberni to the Chamber of Commerce due to us seeking clarity on whether or not this was a fee, like a grant, which a grant wouldn't have GST, or if it was a service. And so GST was not being charged. And so at the year end, we had the opportunity to charge the GST. So in 2023, for year end, we did have a higher contribution. So that was 130 for McLean Mill, 89167 for the visitor center. We weren't collecting the correct amount over the contract term, so we were able to collect $8,600 outstanding in what was owed to us, and then $11,889 in GST in 2023. If you're looking at those numbers, which would be available on the City of Port Alberni website. In total for 2024, yes, we would receive $230,000 from the City of Port Alberni. That is again for the visitor center and for McLean Mill. We do like to keep those expenses and revenues separate so that if we receive money on McLean Mill, it's spent on McLean Mill. If we receive money spent on the visitor center, it's spent on the visitor center.
Perfect. Just quick follow-up. Thank you for the clarification. So before 2020, 2019, and all the way up from 2004 to 2019, the Chamber of Commerce was able to survive on $100,000 a year or less. It went down to about 64,000. So that was able to do Chamber of Commerce stuff, plus operate the tourism center. But now when we drop some funding and we're still way above the 100,000, it's not able to operate. Okay. Second question. The financials, all we can see is what the city sends to the Chamber of Commerce. We don't get to see the Chamber of Commerce financials at all. So it's very hard for us to make some decisions on, is this a good thing for the regional district or not? Because those numbers are not public. Thank you.
As part of the grant and aid application process, I believe I'm submitting a budget and our financials. So that should be made available to you. On the question of increasing staff, yes, we have increased staff. I think for a while there was only 2 people working at the visitor center for a tough time during the pandemic, where we were supporting businesses during that time, and now we're asking for businesses to support us. So our revenues for the Chamber of Commerce really are just our membership fees and any sponsorships and events. The awards is a revenue generating thing, but events took a hit during the pandemic years and we weren't able to generate that much revenue. We are looking for grants to help sort us out. We are trying to change our business model so that we can be the voice of business for all businesses, all shapes and sizes and all sectors.
Okay, thank you for that. And I have Director Minions.
Thank you. Just on a high level, I wanted to note to your question earlier, Mr. Chair, that the funds that are provided from the regional district to the city for McLean Mill are strictly for capital improvements to the historic site. And that actually they're not for operations of McLean Mill at all. And they don't go to the chamber in any way, because the chamber is not actually responsible for the historic site. And of course, they're not responsible for capital work either. The city maintains that responsibility. And we typically match your funds and then leverage further Parks Canada funds as well. So those are very separate from operating funds, just for context.
Well, thank you for the clarity. I was wondering, is because you're asking for an increase of how many $1,000s in this year's budget?
Well, I'm hoping that you could expand your Alberni Valley Grant and Aid pot. It's currently at $78,000. Whatever you're comfortable with. I know you have other decisions, but our grant application will be for $99,500. So if you want to do an exact amount transfer over, of course, we would definitely appreciate that. And our letter of support do say that we should be a year-round operation due to the trend in marketing for visitor dispersion, to make sure that visitors don't just come in July and August, that tourism is spread throughout the year, and we want to kind of be open to the visitors that come year-round.
Okay, thank you for that. I have Director Boyko.
Well, I thought we'd have some other people jumping in here. All right, so I did a whole bunch of research into Chamber of Commerce all over British Columbia, and on the island, I can only see one that gets some public funding. Everyone else, Courtenay, Nanaimo, Victoria, Vancouver, Campbell River, get zero public funds for their operations from the municipal and regional levels. They do see some provincial and federal funding, but at the municipal and district levels, I don't not see no funding. Duncan, City of Duncan does send $34,000 to their Chamber of Commerce. I looked into Tofino. They do not send any money to the tourist center there. So the common source of funding are member fees, event revenue, sponsorship, partnerships, and service fees. I think we have to have a serious discussion before we commit a huge pot of our grant and aid, like we're talking over 30–40%, to one organization that traditionally on the island does not get public funding. So we need to have a big talk about this before we commit to any funds. And the $30,000 McLean Mill, on our paperwork, it does say go to operating funds, and it is redirected to capital funds at the city level. And we had a chat about this about a month and a half ago. So we need to make sure we're all doing what is expected and where we're directing funds to go, that they're actually going to the correct place. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for that. Would you like to reply? Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. And so when you go and research any municipality direct transfer to a Chamber of Commerce, it may appear that way. But Parksville and Qualicum Chambers of Commerce operate visitor information centers. They're still in that business, and they are still getting municipal funds directly transferred to them. I believe Parksville is $55,000 and Qualicum is $45,000. Qualicum, Ucluelet, I don't think they get a municipal or district transfer. I would let someone from that regional district area speak to that. But often MRDT funds are considered a contribution, and so that is some public funds, but not everyone is required to that. That would be up to the discretion of the community destination marketing organization. And Destination BC is a Crown corporation that is public dollars as well, that gives it to the sponsor organization. In each community, it's different. Comox Valley Regional District owns the building of the visitor center where it's being operated out of there. And so they might have less operating costs. They might see less of a transfer of funds being submitted that way because the regional district owns that building. So it's kind of, different circumstances in each community, but some cities or municipalities directly contribute to operating of a visitor center made up of multiple funds, whether that's MRDT, Destination BC, municipal contribution, grants, Canada Summer Jobs, and so forth.
Okay, thank you for that. I have Director Roth.
Thank you. Thank you, Jolene, for the presentation. In my view, this request does not fit within the criteria of a grant and aid. The Chamber is looking for long-term core funding from the regional district. So I think that a service area would need to be created, and the question about whether or not to fund the service would need to go to the people through a proper referendum ballot. I think would be the right way of doing it, and it will take time, but I can't see doing it any other way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. I have Director Minions.
Thank you. I agree with Director Roth that the correct and long-term way to do this is by creating a service and having that go to referendum, just like Spirit Lake Marine Patrol did. However, I do think for the current year, it is reasonable to have a request for a one-time fund or a one-time funding amount, just based on that this is a different year for them. And, you know, maybe that can't be the entire amount requested, but I think it's at least reasonable for us to consider the request on a one-off basis, as we have done for others in the past, where, you know, of course, I think everyone would like long-term operating funding from us, but we have given larger grants to other organization. I mean, I think ADAPS last year, I believe we gave a larger one too. I can't remember the correct one off the top of my mind. So I think what they are asking for is a one-time consideration for this year, and then to work on a separate process, which, like, by all means, Director Roth is correct on that. The long-term funding needs to be through, any long-term funding needs to be through a grant and aid, or sorry, not a grant and aid, but a service. And I guess question to staff, I don't see this on our agenda as an additional item. So when is the appropriate time for us to actually consider, is the appropriate thing for us to consider just increasing the grant and aid budget, and by how much, rather than actually allocating funding specifically to this at this point, and maybe just a little bit on process from staff if possible.
Okay, I'll take it over to our person on staff, Terry.
Thank you. So we, in section, the request for decision, so 7B, when we talk about the first reading of bylaw F1170, I will definitely verbally prompt the discussion, but I think that the Alberni Valley Grants and Aid would be an option for sure if the board is looking to support this. I will note that to date, it has been funded through the 4 separate electoral areas. So Beaver Creek, Cherry Creek, Sprout Lake, and Bamfield have been contributing $1,000 a year to it. So it would be a slightly different approach, but that would be the most logical place that I see it to fit in the budget if the board's wanting to head in that direction.
Okay, thank you. So we'd move from a EA director areas to a regional director funded grant. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it would be the, I believe that it would make sense in the Alberni Valley and Bamfield grant and aid pot. So your other options would be region-wide, or that the electoral areas ask for the chamber to apply to each of their individual areas. But I'm kind of sensing that the request is for the whole Alberni Valley and including the city of Port Alberni at this time.
Okay, thank you for that. Director Roth.
Thank you. This is to Terry, but what is the amount that we currently have in the budget for grant needs?
For Alberni Valley grant needs, we're 78,000, and that's based on the same funding level as last year.
So this would be more than double, because they want 95,500 or 99,500?
If the board chooses to go with the full amount, yes, it would be more than double.
Okay, I have another comment to make. While we were engaged in budget talks, I asked the finance department to set a maximum tax increase for Beaver Creek at 7%. And this is 3.5% higher than the proposed tax increase. The plan was to add tax dollars to a reserve fund for Beaver Creek's drinking water. A motion was approved at our last meeting to make sure this happened. Setting aside taxpayers' funds for future upgrades to the infrastructure is demonstrating good fiscal management. You know, at this time, I have a hard time being in favor of reducing the amount going into our reserve fund or increasing Beaver Creek's tax rate over 7%. So we'd have to take a step backwards and redo something here. I just can't see it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Director Boyko, go ahead.
No, thank you very much, Chair. I think one other thing is, I think we're all disappointed that this came at the last minute on a city meeting and it got thrown in the Chamber of Commerce lap, and now it's on our lap to help fix the funding. But I think we're all disappointed that this is how it take place, and it just helps. I don't know how to say this, but it doesn't help the relations between the city and the regional district that this gets dropped in our lap in the last week and a half, 2 weeks of budget season. And the amount that's being asked for is larger than a grant need. So we either have to tell everybody else that they're not getting any money this year, although their backpack programs and everything else, or more than double our grant need. So it's a very difficult decision, and it's just one of many things that the city is trying to get the regional district to pay for over the past couple of years. Thank you.
Which end's screwing up here? Because it's technology and it's me, and everybody knows me, it's bad.
I can hear you now, but you're blocked for a bit.
Director Minions, are you there?
Yes, I am. I think your microphone was turned off. Thank you. I just wanted to respond to Director Boyko's last comment. I would ask the regional district directors to bear with us a little bit, as I'm sure you're aware, we have had some extremely major changes in our industrial tax base this year. And while I completely understand that a reasonably last minute request for $90,000, not that we set that amount, but request for $90,000 is meaningful to the regional district, and it's a big request, and I understand that completely. The city lost over $1 million taxpayer this year. So this is not a normal year for us. We had to make, as a result of the SAND group changes, and that's not even talking about last year and unpaid taxes, we had to make some extremely significant changes to our budget. So while I understand that this is a hardship for the regional district, I think people are forgetting what's going on in the city right now. And I mean, we just passed a 14% increase for our taxpayers. So I understand Director Roth wanting to keep, her tax increase to 7%. I would have liked to have kept our tax increase to 7% at the city, but we absolutely could not do that. We made significant cuts to some of our operations this year. We reduced service levels, we cut contracts, and we still ended up at 14%. We believe this is an extremely valuable service. That's why we've been funding it for decades. We believe the Chamber of Commerce in operating this service is an extremely good partner. This year has come with very challenging decisions, and we know that there's more ahead. So definitely asking the directors to work with us on this and consider this as part of this year's budget, so that we can have visitor services in the city. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. I have Director Roth and I have Director Solda.
Thank you. I wanted to share something about our last town hall meeting, and it really stood out to me. And this is about the people that pay all of our bills. It's clear that the people in our community are worried about the spending decisions being made by local government. There's also a concern about recent proposals involving tens of millions of dollars. Even with the good intentions behind them, these plans are putting unnecessary pressure on people who are already working as hard as they can to get by. The pressure is building. More and more people are speaking out. They're telling us to back off. They're not just tired, they're sick and tired. Some are feeling completely overwhelmed, even hopeless. We're living in highly unstable times. We have a responsibility to the people who fund everything at the regional district, the people who work hard to pay all the bills. We need to make sure that decisions respect their realities and don't jeopardize the stability or future of our community. So we really need to consider this. We got to think about the people that pay for everything. We just can't keep putting it on them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Director Solda.
So just to be clear, just to get it from staff, if we went with a grant and aid or the Chamber of Commerce, how much of it is the city's? I know the answer, but just so everybody else knows.
I do not know the answer. Give me a minute.
Sure, and while you're getting a minute there, I'm gonna go ask the Chamber of Commerce. I know you had mentioned you tried to get a bank loan, and can you just say what happened on that too, please?
Thank you, Councillor Solda. And through the chair, if I may also explain the financial information and item descriptions we will submit if that helps your decision making. And on the fly, I can reduce that request if you like, if you think that's outrageous. We are currently trying to differentiate ourselves and be a chamber of commerce, be a voice of business, be an economic driver. And so we were in the startup phases of a new business that would help build community, connect our community, and that is for a co-working space. So when we went to the credit union, they said without long-term stable funding, you can't service your debt, and so we are unable to finance you. What my request is for in the grant and aid, because I filled out the application because I thought it would help the discussion today. This is important feedback from you as directors. We collect stats, so this can be a true partnership, and we can start collecting community-specific info that's helpful for your decision making. So what we're essentially asking for in my grant application, once I filled out my actual budget for the year, it would cost $217,000 to operate my visitor center. I know I put 177 in my PowerPoint, but once I did the grant after I submitted my thing, those costs are staffing, wages, facility operations, materials, a FAM tour, maps, and our perks program printing. The amount that I'm asking for the ACRD, just so you know, is similar to an application I do to Canada Summer Jobs. We put in a request for staffing. They give us minimum wage rate, and then we top up the amount as well. So what my request is to the ACRD is to cover staffing and wages for one full-time staff person at minimum wage. Our contribution would top that up. We would pay them benefits and so forth. So I have that as $35,000. A contribution of our facility operations, so grounds, maintenance, insurance, IT. The request I'm putting to the ACRD in the grant application is $56,900. Everything else is extra. So if I just put those two requests to you to consider, that's about $92,000. So that takes out some fluff that, is very important when we're making these important decision makings, when we have directors that are very, very conscious about the residents in their electoral areas.
Thank you. Staff want to add something?
Yeah, for sure. The city of Port Alberni share in 2025 would be about 56%.
Thank you. I just wanted to let the public know we still would be contributing.
Yes, it goes by population, doesn't it? Yes. So I have, Director Minion, is your hands up again, or do you want to say something else? Okay, thank you. And I have Director Boyko.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just regarding what Director Solder said, that's very true. That the majority of the funds paid by the ACRD itself do come from the city. But if we take a reverse reciprocal of that, and we take this $90,000 and flip it over other ways, and the 92,000 or whatever in the ACRD regional district portion from electoral areas would be pretty close to $30,000. So if we took that McLean's Mill, instead of building septic systems and whatever else the capital projects are and put this toward that, this thing would also be a null and void increase to taxpayers, just for a relative basis. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. Are there any more questions from directors? Okay. Seeing none, I thank you for your presentation.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on. 6, correspondence for information. There's 3 items there. Aberport City Council, Leslie Walerius, and Huu-ay-aht First Nations. And there's a late item? Okay, the 3 late items that came in by hand or by email. Is anybody okay? We have Director Boyko, then Director Minions.
Yes, thank you very much. The topic of the robo toilets that was passed by Alberni City Council a couple weeks ago and put in the media was brought up at our town hall a week and a half ago, and it was a resounding negative from the people of Beaufort Beaver Creek and the other residents that were there that they would like the electoral areas to help pay for the robotic toilets coming from Calgary. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I have to ask how it ever got onto our agenda. I know Director Minnion is next because I got emails and texts and everything about that. And I'm going like, this is not on our agenda, the city project. So how did that get twisted around? Any ideas?
It was in city council and then it was brought up and passed, and it was suggested by one of the councillors of the regional district, and the First Nations should help pay for it. That's why it's being discussed.
Thank you. And that's not correct. So I'd love to clarify.
Yeah, thank you. I'll do Director Minnion. You're next anyway.
Thank you. So yeah, I want to really clarify that there is no request here and for you to help pay for anything. And this is certainly out of kind of practice of how this would typically look, as a member of the community has pulled something from our agenda, taken it somewhat out of context, and then provided it to the regional district rather than what the typical process would be, which is me on behalf of the city writing a letter to the regional district or administration writing a letter requesting funding. So I, of course, and I know we've had these conversations already with some directors, but I wasn't at the meeting where this request was made. However, I've clarified with my council that the wording on this is somewhat off. There is absolutely no request for funding from the regional district here. The city has been gifted these robo toilets, which we have decided to receive. However, we are not funding an operational budget for them. We are rather putting them in storage to be determined at a future date what the need will be. And since we do not have an immediate use for them, however, you know, they are quite valuable and expensive toilets, and some communities do find you know, they're extremely valuable for their downtowns and other areas. A member of our council suggested that we could offer, if any other local government or First Nations government had a park that they wanted to put a bathroom in or something like that, that we could make them available. So it was intended to be an offer, since we are not intending to utilize them at this point in time, and not a request for any shared funding. Thank you.
Well, thanks for that clarity. I know that I got asked to do a lot of things. I don't even know what they're talking about yet because social media somehow gets the cart before the horse sometimes. But anyway, has anybody else any questions about this correspondence? Seeing none, would somebody like to receive the correspondence? So moved by Director Solda, seconded by Director LaCourcier. Thank you. Moving on, requests for decisions and bylaws. Request for decision, Millstream Water System Bylaw, F1144-2. And Jenny, are we talking about this?
Yes, thank you. So we brought this to the West Coast Committee in mid-February, and we got approval and support from the committee to increase water rates by $20 per quarter. This is the bylaw attached, which will implement those, and so we're asking for board support for that. I do have an update. In our report that we brought to the committee, we talked about doing an application for water meters, and we have heard back that unfortunately we were unsuccessful in that, so I just thought I would give an update. From a staff perspective, we are planning to move forward with the asset management plan update, and then hopefully engage with the community to talk to them about how we're going to work on closing the funding gap for that system. Happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions from directors? Seeing none, would somebody like to start making the motions? Okay, Director Sega, go ahead. I think it's the same problem I had. I think your mic's on mute.
Thank you. You can hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Oh, okay, yeah. This has gone through the West Coast Committee, and I'd like to move that the Alberni Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors give first reading to bylaw number F1144-2, Millstream Water Local Service Area Rates and Regulations Amendment Bylaw 2025.
Thank you. We have a seconder. Tom, thank you. Director Steer, sorry. Any more questions? All those in favor? Okay, those carried. Next one.
I'd like to give second reading.
second reading. Okay, seconded by Director Steer. Questions? Okay, all those in favor? Okay. Director Siga.
I'd like to give third reading.
Okay. Seconded by Director Steer. Any questions? All those in favor? Okay.
And I'd like to move that the bylaw F1144-2 be adopted.
Adoption, seconded by Director Steer. Questions? All those in favor? It carried. Great. Now we're down to B, request for decision, first reading of bylaw F1170-2025-2029 financial plan. Terry.
Great, thank you. So we've got to most of the way through all of our financial plan discussions, and so it's time to turn that bigger financial plan document into the bylaw. So presented for you today is a bylaw for consideration of first reading. We did circulate by email, and there is some copies on the table here of one requested from me resolution, which is just a little bit of a cleanup exercise from our audit that's ongoing, and then an anticipated motion that I believe Director Roth may be bringing forward, and one from Director Steer, and then I'd like to talk about the chamber as well. But yes, it's assembled based on all of our discussions, and we will have a chance to discuss it on the 26th when we need to adopt, and we can make some final changes then. But if there's anything that you are wanting changed at this time, I would ask and recommend that we bring it forward as part of first reading. So it's a little, so the amendments will open the first reading, and then we will do the amendments and then vote on first reading as amended if possible. To talk about the first one, it's just a motion. There's just been a couple of adjustments. One is a $17 adjustment and one is $7. It seems trivial on a large budget that we're dealing with, but I just would prefer to get them cleaned up so they don't roll forward like this. So appreciate your support on that, and then I will leave it for any questions.
Okay, thank you for that. Director Silva.
So just to clarify, the chamber, you wanted to bring up the chamber. How are we to deal with that one?
For sure. So if the directors would like to support an increased pot in the Alberni Valley and Bamfield grant and aid budget, I can propose a resolution, but basically we would, the motion would be to increase the grant and aid amount for the Alberni Valley and Bamfield grants to whatever level the board is comfortable with, and then we can make that amendment. So that is the fourth kind of item that I believe is potentially sitting out there. Yes.
I have Director Roth.
Thank you. I would like to make a motion that the Board of Directors amend the 2024 actual costs in bylaw F1170 to reflect year-end adjustments as follows. General government, page 9, by increasing the other sources of revenue by $17. Electoral area administration, page 22, by reallocating $7 from surplus from prior years to appropriated surplus from prior years and increase the contribution capital fund by $7.
Yeah, thank you. A motion seconded by Director. Okay, seconded by Director Silva, and Director Silva, please say something.
So for the Chamber of Commerce, can I add that? Can we do a separate motion on the change? Okay, fine, fair enough.
Is there any more discussion on, you have a second, any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Director Roth.
I just wanted to say I have another motion too after this.
Okay. Any more discussion on this motion at this time? We're moving $7 and $17. Nope. So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? It was carried. Great. Now for the second motion.
Okay, I would also like to move that the Board of Directors amend bylaw F1170, Regional Parks Capital Fund, page 16, by removing the 2027 Log Train Trail Access Parking Construction of $600,000 and the related grant funding.
Okay, we have a motion. For a seconder? Wait a second. I see no seconder, so that, oh, are you seconding, Director Minions? Okay. Go ahead. So no, we had discussion on motion. Anybody want to discuss the motion? Director Roth, you want to discuss the motion?
Well, it had to do with the level of the park and also the new involvement of a parks committee. And we wanted it to be something, it was supposed to be a level 3, and this, that this wouldn't appear had it been a level 3. I think Fred, can we ask Fred about this? Because he knows more.
Well,
Fred?
do we want to do that? Do you want to go Jenny first? Do you want to do it, or Daniel would like to go first? Hold on.
Maybe I can help on this one. So I think the discussions that occurred is that adding this in prior to feasibility runs contrary to the management plan that we did. So it was a sketch that was found when we were doing the public outreach. And so the proposal here would be that what Director Roth is saying is that we remove it. Obviously, we still have feasibility and discussions to do, which is why we have a committee. If it comes back, then it'll come back through committee for discussion. But it was a little bit preemptive for us to leave it in there after the management plan had indicated that we were going to operate at a lower level. So that was a good community catch, and I think the appropriate adjustment.
Okay, thank you for that. Director Boyko? No.
Yes, thank you. And I think I agree exactly with what the CAO just said there, Chair. Thank you.
Okay.
When we did the community outreach with regard to the log train trail, we wanted to keep it at 80% at level 4. And when we had our meeting about a year and a half ago, we decided that we'd try and keep the trail at a minimum level 4 and the engineered structures, the 3 bridges that currently exist, at a level 3, just to keep it as natural as possible. And so adding in what we took out already, which was the potential bridge over Howell Creek, and now this work on a potential parking lot that is A, not required, and B, is not part of what the management plan is. It's appropriate to take it out at this point. In the future, if we do see trail use increasing and we're full up at every parking spot that currently exists, then we can look at this again. But removing it is appropriate at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Any more discussion from the directors? Hearing none, then we have a motion on the floor, has been seconded. All those in favor? And those opposed? Okay, that's carried. Okay. Director Minions?
Thank you. I'd like to move that we amend the budget to increase the Alberni Valley and Bamfield Grant and Aid budget by $40,000 to enable a one-time and one-year funding of the visitor center to the Alberni Valley Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, thank you. A motion on the floor. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Director Solda. Discussion? Oh, we go to Terry.
Sorry, we're not awarding grant needs at this point, and I don't want to skip that process. So if we could just increase the pot at this time, Director Minions, then I don't want to go against our policy.
That's fine with me for my motion being friendly change, and I'll speak to it if it's okay.
So you're good with the motion? Is the seconder good with the motion amendment? Okay. Any discussions on the motion? Oh, you want to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to recognize again, I know we've already had some discussion on this. I appreciate that this is a significant ask, and I think that it still is, going to leave the chamber and the visitor center, assuming we still have a process to go through for that. I recognize Terry, but I think it still leaves them in a challenging position. However, I think it is an amount that is still on the high end, but more doable, hopefully, for the Alberni Valley and Bamfield to fund on this one-time basis. I would just really ask the directors to appreciate that it's been a challenging year to everyone. And Director Roth, I hear your comments earlier. It's a lot of people in our community are feeling that. I know the taxpayers in the city of Port Alberni are as well, which was why this was one of the services that we ended up having to end our formal contract with. And we have more probably changes coming forward as well for other service providers. So I think we're all trying to look for better ways to do things. And I don't know what the future of this service is, but I hope that we can help on this on a one-time basis, as I think that has always been a service that provided value to the whole Alberni Valley and Bamfield area.
Okay, thank you for that. I have Director Boyko and Director LaCourcier.
Yes, thank you very much. And thank you, Director Minions, for your explanation. But you alluded to this would be one of several contracts that might be coming in the future. Is the city looking at more money from the regional district for other services that currently exist? I just would like to get some clarification on your comment. Thank you.
Go ahead, Director Minions.
Thank you. No, we have no other formal asks for the regional district. Of course, we are talking about things like recreation and stuff like that. So those are public conversations via the pool. What I meant is the city has other contracts that we have with external service providers that we are looking possibly for alternatives with. We've spoken about some of those in our public council meetings. One of them is the SPCA. I mean, it's an extremely valuable service to all of us. However, it is $150,000 and for animal control services. I know the regional district is talking about their animal control and needing to possibly look at amping it up. However, I think the cost difference is like $6,000 for the regional district compared to what we're paying. So on the other side of that, we're looking for possibly more economical options. So I think these are all services that are extremely valuable. We are not making requests when we do make those changes to shift those costs to the regional areas. Rather, we are just looking at needing to change some of the contracts that we have as a municipality as a result of our budget.
Okay, thank you. I have Director LaCourcier.
Probably it's an understanding for me. If this is not to be part of grant and aid, so how do we really fit this in?
Into the budget, we have a regional service grant and aid that does Alberni Valley and Bamfield. I think that would be the one we'd be increasing. Is that correct, Terry?
It would be a grant and aid application at this time. I think what the comments earlier were that if we want to support it longer term, we'd want to consider establishing a service and developing an agreement with the chamber in order to do that. But it does fit the criteria of a grant and aid. I believe. I haven't seen the application yet, but I believe it would fit the criteria.
So if we've placed a limit on our grants and aid this year, how do we do that? We have to change our limit then?
That's what this adjustment was for, was we had put a $78,000 pot for money for the Alberni Valley. And so the board has the ability to adjust that amount. Staff had proposed the 78,000 based on the amount of funding we provided in 2024. But the motion brought forward by Director Minions would increase that by an additional $40,000 to allow for an anticipated application from the chamber.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the grant and aid portion will go 118,000, and then we'll see if it's successful in getting in. I have Director Boyko, then Director Roth.
Thank you very much, Chair. I would actually urge the city to see if we can reallocate the McLean Mill funds from capital funds to operating funds, and then work towards putting that towards the chamber, because the McLean Mill funds were started in 1992 with a bylaw 777 as operating funds. And it says very clearly in the bylaw and the actual notes in the financial documents that that's how they are designated. So if we could do that, this would be a null increase to the Port Alberni Regional District taxpayers. So I'd like to propose that we do that as well. Thank you. Put the money where it's supposed to go.
Okay, thank you for that. Director Roth.
Thank you. I'm in agreement with that, for the city to redirect those funds to the chamber, because the bylaw does state it's for operating funds. So I would be okay with that totally. $40,000 still seems like a lot of money. We need to make that a lot lower, but seeing that 30,000 go that way would work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Any more discussion from the directors? No, we have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. All those in favor? And all those opposed? Carried. Okay, we have one more. I think Director Steer may want to lead this one. Your hand's up first. Director Steer, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And I appreciate the discussion that's happening in terms of from Mayor Minions and from the electoral area directors around the challenges around the fiscal responsibilities of our local governments, and this is why I'm bringing this to the table at this time, and it's around, once again, grants and aid contributions, and I apologize I was not able to attend the March 5th meeting. Because I was at my full-time job. And so the reason I'm bringing this forward at the West Coast Committee, there was the West Coast Committee recommended to the board an option that at the March 5th meeting did not reach approval. And so I'm looking to the motion, and there's a slight adjustment to the motion. I think that is presented in terms of the amount, and I'll go over that in the amended motion. The motion is that the Board of Directors amend bylaw F1170 West Coast Grants and Aid, page 45, by decreasing grants and aid and related tax requisitions to $10,000 in each years 2025 to 2029.
Okay, thank you. A motion on the floor. Do we have a seconder on that motion? Seconded by Director Roth. Okay. Any discussion there, Director Steer?
If I could speak to it, thank you, through the chair. Yes, and in conversations with the West Coast Committee, and once again, in terms of the allocation amounts for these types of grants and aid, the District of Tofino does contribute to its own grants and aid program. And then at the for the West Coast grants and aid portion of that, once again, there's and you've heard me say it before, but there's quite a disproportionate level of funding that because of our increased property values that we end up contributing to these here, and there was very limited ways for me to be able to adjust that, and I have to be responsible to my local taxpayers, and this is why I would like to have that reduction in that amount, but recognizing in conversations with my colleagues on the West Coast that there could be some undue harshness to that. So that's why I looked at reducing, increasing from that $1,000 amount that I had previously requested up to that $10,000, which I think is a reasonable request considering the contribution that the District of Tofino does make in these places.
Okay, thank you for that. Director Roth. I think you're muted.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I wasn't going to speak to that. I'm sorry. I've got my hand up. I do want to speak after.
Okay, got it. Director Steer, your hand is still up. Are you want to speak some more? Nope, you're down. Okay. Any other directors that want to speak on this motion decreasing by $10,000? To $10,000. Okay. Director Roth, your hand is still up. Are you just waiting for next time, or is something you want to? You're waiting for next time. Okay. Okay, no more discussion. So your motion has been seconded on the floor. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. Director Roth.
Thank you. I would like the board, or I'd like to make a motion that the Board of Directors make an amendment to reduce the amount going into our reserve fund for Beaver Creek drinking water to maintain a 7% overall increase.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a seconder? Sorry? Okay, thank you. We have a motion and we have a second on the floor. Okay, Director Roth, would you like to speak on the motion?
Yes, I think 7% is high enough as it is, and I don't want to put more pressure on my taxpayers or on the taxpayers of Beaver Creek. So if we reduce the amount going into our reserve and maintain that 7% increase, it's not too unreasonable. I don't know what the percentage increase would be with the additional grant and aid, but I'd like to maintain 7% or less. Thank you.
Yeah, I got two people looking at Daniel and I have Terry, so Daniel will go first.
Perhaps we're going to say the same thing. I just want to make sure the board understands this has no impact on anyone else. This is a Beaver Creek impact. So, so just so sometimes people say, well, what's that going to mean for me? This is it was originally a number that Director Roth wanted to establish in order to build up capacity with Beaver Creek water. And so it does not impact anyone else's taxation level. So so we understand when you are voting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Any more discussion on the motion? Okay.
This affects, like you said before, just affects Beaver Creek and no one else, right? So this is gonna affect their reserve for water in the future. So in the future, they'll probably have to increase their taxes to have enough reserve for their water change.
I think they increased it last week to create a bigger reserve, so as to make a smaller reserve. There'll still be a reserve. It's not going to.
That's correct. It was to add to the reserve. I want to keep building that, but we'll just have to put less in.
Yeah, it's still in a positive direction.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Any more discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, and opposed? That is carried. Okay. And that's all for the budget.
We now need to do a first reading as amended.
Okay, so to read this out as amended, okay? Who would like to be the person to read out? The Tom or Renee? We'll go Renee, go ahead. He's the accountant. Renee, Dr. LaCourse.
Okay.
Here.
Thank you. That Alberni Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors give first reading to the bylaw cited as bylaw F11702025 to 2029 Alberni Clayoquot Regional District Financial Plan as amended.
Moved by Director LaCourse, seconded by Director Solda. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Okay, opposed? That is carried. Okay. So that's that. Now we're on to the next one. Request for decision. Alberni Valley Regatta Association Sproat Lake Noise Control Bylaw.
I'd be happy to introduce that for you, Mr. Chair. This is a request from the Alberni Valley Regatta Association. It is a special event exemption from the Sproat Lake Noise Bylaw that would allow for the Lightning on the Lake event to be held this summer from the Sproat Lake Provincial Park. This is a community event that the board has supported for many years now. The noise bylaw exemption would support boat racing activities to take place between the hours of 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. on July 11th to 13th this summer. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, would somebody like to make the motion? Director LaCourse.
Oh, I'm still on. Further, that the Alberni Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors issue a noise exemption as per section 7 of the Sproat Lake Noise Control Bylaw number R1024 from July 11th, 12th, and 13th, 2025 from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily to the Alberni Valley Regatta Association.
Thank you. We have a motion seconded by Director Solda. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay. Opposed? Carried. Okay, D, request for decision, grant funding application for airport services. Jenny.
Thank you for that. We have a report with 4 resolutions for different grant applications. As you've just supported the first round for the financial plan, all of these grant applications are part of that, and we're going to get rolling on those applications. The first one is for the equipment storage at the Abra, and that is for a $400,000 grant application, and that will make up about 60% of the total project fund, and that's in the capital plan that we've been reviewing. The second one is for a culvert replacement, and that's under the ACAP program. So that would provide up to, that's 100% funding if we're successful. And we're estimating that's about $700,000 project. That was unfortunately a failure that happened this past year, and it is fairly urgent. So we are hopeful that it will be successful under the ACAP program as it's on our primary apron. The third grant is for the Long Beach Airport Terminal building. We estimate that the design work for that will be about $500,000, and this grant could provide up to $200,000 in funding. And the fourth project that we're looking for is for REDIP funding, and this is for the land use plan and development plan for the Long Beach Airport. We did make an application under this program last year and were unsuccessful, and we had some feedback, so we modified our application. We've been in discussions with them, and I think our application is a very promising one. So we are hoping to hear back from them shortly. And I would like to note that we expect, if we are successful, that we will hear back shortly. So we did want to actually include that to commit capacity in the 2025, 2026, and 2027 work plan to complete the project, because we do believe it will be about a 2-year project. So just one minor modification to the last resolution. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you for that. Any questions from directors? Director Boyko.
There we go. So I have a question about the storage facility. So last year was 850,000, now it's 600, and we're applying for 400,000 of it. What's actually going to go in this facility? Is it just a snowplow or is something else more than that? And I have a follow-up.
Yeah, good question. Yeah, so we did make a grant application through BCAP and it was unsuccessful. So we actually went back based on some of the feedback that we received from them, and we've stripped out a lot of the things. So a lot of that actually has to do with electrical and services for the building. So instead of it being a fully serviced building, we've stripped it down. It will still have the same square footage, and it will allow for snowplow storage, equipment storage. We can also put sand in there. It's really helpful when we do put equipment under cover, and it just allows it to last longer. So it's a better investment for that. There might be a little bit of extra room. We've talked about this for winter storage of, say, the Sprout Lake Marine Patrol boat, but that would just be because the boat is very small. We might be able to sneak it in there.
Understood. So the snowplow, what's the cost on a snowplow, or how old is our snowplow? I'm just wondering if we're going to spend $600,000 to store a $50,000 snowplow, because that seems a little bit excessive and backwards.
Yeah, we have quite a bit of equipment. The snowplow that we just bought for the Long Beach Airport will probably be staying at the Long Beach Airport for most of the time. If we actually are very limited on storage out at the Long Beach Airport as well, and we'll be ending up renting some storage. So we might bring it for off-season storage, but I think primarily when it's starting to snow, we'll have it at the Long Beach Airport. We also have mowing equipment and other equipment that would be good to keep out of the rain. So like the snowplow, I'm trying to remember. Off the top of my head, it'd be like 600,000, I believe. I can't remember. I'd have to look it up.
Okay. I just think we're spending a lot of money on an equipment shelter that we go to Canadian Tire and buy one for a truck for $4,000. And maybe if we want snowplow stuff in there, we spend another $4,000. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Any more questions from? Oh, we have Daniel. Go ahead.
I just wanted to comment on the value of equipment. So the equipment that we are purchasing, as an example, so the last loader that we bought was just a touch over $500,000. And what happens is that just that equipment will last us a very long time, which is great. But on the maintenance and upkeep, things like hydraulic hoses and the tires and whatnot that are actually, expensive to replace over time, degrade a lot faster when they're left under direct UV lighting without storage. And we're not in a position to put them under like a Canadian Tire tarp shelter, because that doesn't work well with the turbulence that come from planes. So really, like, our ideal would be to get a grant and build a proper shelter so that we can extend the life of this equipment, the equipment both that we have and future equipment that we'll purchase.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, any more questions? Director Corsia, go ahead.
We're applying for a grant. Is the grant 100% of the building or only a portion of it, or?
BCAP funding is typically 60% funding. ACAP funding is 100%. This is through the BCAP program, so it will be $400,000 is what we anticipate if we're successful.
Thank you.
Okay. And I have Director Boyko.
Director LaCourse just asked the exact same question I was going to ask. So not 100% grant funding. So depending on what the building is selected, we're looking at 40%. So we're going to spend a couple $100,000 of taxpayer funds on the airport, which is a very hot topic, and just want to make sure everyone's very clear on that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. Are there any more questions from directors? Or questions? Would somebody like to start making the motions? Oh, I see a wave of activity. Go ahead, Dr. Corsier.
The Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors support the grant funding application for BC Air Access Program, BCAAP, for an equipment storage facility at the Alberni Valley Regional Airport, and direct staff, if successful, to commit the capacity in the 2025 and 2026 work plan to complete the project.
Thank you. A motion, seconded by Director Solda. Any more discussion on the motion? Nope. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. Second one.
The Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District, the Board of Directors supports the grant funding application to Airport Capital Assistance Program, ACAP, for the Apron 3 culvert replacement at Long Beach Airport, and direct staff, if successful, to commit capacity in the 2025 and 2026 work plan to complete the project.
Get a motion, seconded by Director Solda. Any more discussion on the motion? Nope. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. Third one.
That the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors support the grant funding application to Green Municipal Funding, GMF, study the new construction municipal and community building for the design and planning of the new expansion terminal building at Long Beach Airport, and direct staff, if successful, to commit capacity in the 2026 and 2027 work plan to complete the project.
Thank you. We have a motion, seconded by Director Solda and Jenny.
Oh, sorry, I just was hoping to amend that just to add in the year 2025, because I do expect us to, we're very likely to be successful. So just to add in the words 2025, if that's okay, into the work plan.
So amended.
Seconded by Director Solda. Any more discussion on that? Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
That the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors support the grant funding application to Rural Economic Diversification and Infrastructure Program, REDIP, for land use and development plan for the Long Beach Airport, and direct staff, if successful, to commit capacity in 2026 and 2027 work to complete the project.
Thank you. It's moved, and do we have a seconder? Okay, Director Steer, thank you. Any more discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, we're done. Thank you for that. That was a lot of words. Request for decision. Letter of support for Farmgate Plus facility, Alex.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So a request from a local farm operator has been received for a letter of support from the ACRD board to support their Farmgate Plus license application with the province that would allow for small-scale on-farm slaughter and meat processing at their facility. The ACRD, as many of you know, has lobbied the province for many years now for improved access to abattoir services for our farmers in the region. A timeline is provided in the report that outlines all of this work that's been led by the ACRD since the Ag Plan was adopted in 2011. Significant improvements were made to the provincial regulations in 2021 with the introduction of the current Farmgate Plus licenses, but there are gaps and barriers that are still impacting our producers in the region, and we do hear about it quite often. One example being the requirement that this operator notes that each applicant must conduct a feasibility study for any Farmgate Plus application that's within 100 kilometers of a licensed facility. As we know in this region, while we might be within 100 kilometers of a facility, there are significant transportation challenges that exist in moving animals over to the east side of the island. And then another limitation would be that restriction on the 25 animal units per year as well, which can be very limiting with the hurdles and the cost pressures associated with obtaining one of these licenses. So as part of this request, staff are also recommending that the board send a letter to the Ministry of Agriculture and Food outlining the negative effects of the feasibility study and the annual slaughter limit on local food production in our region, and to request improvements in those regulations. And then it is further recommended that a letter of support for this operator and future letters of support on an as-needed basis are provided to assist local producers where possible. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you for that. Are any questions from directors? Wow, no questions. Okay. I'm sort of reading this through and then I have to like 25 animals per year. I'm like, yeah, I never got on that one when I was out in Jerry Creek. 10 times that maybe, okay, but 25 animals is not much. That's less than one every 2 weeks. So more. Director Corsier.
Could he not apply for more than 25 animals? It doesn't seem like very high number.
But I'll get Alex to answer that one.
Sure. So there are 3 different licenses. There's the farm gate license, which is up to 5 animals per year, and that's for your own animals and for direct marketing to consumers. There's the farm gate plus license that allows you to take in other animals from other farms and allows you to market to retail stores and restaurants. And then the next license up is the full licensed abattoir, which is a commercial facility and that larger scale that we see in the Comox Valley and in Nanaimo as well. So there is no gap between the 25 animal units with the Farm Gate Plus and the full licensed facility that's available right now. So that's one of the hurdles and the additional cost pressures that our producers are faced with when they're asked to handle XYZ for the Farm Gate Plus license, and it really doesn't make sense when they're having to spend a lot of money on the feasibility studies and all that sort of stuff.
Okay, thank you. I have Director Boyko, then I'll have Director Soldan. Thank you.
I think this is a great facility, and anything we can do to reduce government regulations is going to be positive for the agricultural section and helping us keep food secure in the valley and keep things Canadian. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Soldan.
Here I am going to make a motion, and in the farm days, I used to tell the pigs to hide because they were going to be slaughtered. So I'm about to make a different motion in my life. I'll move that the ACRD Board of Directors direct staff to draft a letter of support for Sprout Lake Farms Farm Gate Plus license application. Do you want to do the whole?
We'll do one at a time, I believe, right? One at a time. So we have a motion, a seconder. Okay, I'll do, a lot of hands up. I'll do Director Siga. Any discussion on the motion? No discussion, so, okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, second one.
I'm glad I don't have to watch this. Now I'll move that the ACRD Board of Directors direct staff to compose letters of support on as needed basis for the future Farm Gate Plus license applications.
Great. Motion on the floor, seconded by Director Siga. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And the last one.
And finally, I move that the ACRD Board of Directors direct staff to compose a letter to the Ministry of Agriculture outlining the negative effects requiring a feasibility study for the Farm Gate Plus license application within 100 kilometers of the abattoir if the distance is not based on actual road access, and to request an increase to the 25 animal unit per slaughter cap on Farm Gate Plus facilities.
Thank you. Do a motion, do I have a seconder? Director Siga again. Great, thank you. Any more discussion? Okay, call for a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Now we're going to go on to F, request for decision, West Coast Committee Terms of Reference Amendment. Heather Zenner.
Thank you.
At the West Coast Committee, we reviewed the terms of reference for that committee, and there was a request from Pacific Rim National Park Reserve to change their name from the National Park to the National Park Reserve. So asking the board to adopt those amended terms of reference. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. And I have Director Steer.
I'll move that the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors adopt the West Coast Committee terms of reference for 2025 as amended to update the name of Pacific Rim National Park Reserve.
Thank you. I have a motion seconded by Director Roth. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, call for a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, now we go down to 8 planning matters. 8.1 Littoral Area Directors. That's 6 of us. And we have TUP 24009 West Throb, Hook Bay, Alberni Inlet, Banfield. Alex.
Thank you very much. A report is provided for a public hearing that was held on March 4th for the temporary use permit application and the associated bylaw P1520. There were no comments received from the public at the hearing, and included with the minutes are the agency referral responses that were received. The bylaw would authorize the issuance of a temporary use permit outside of an OCP area to allow for the addition of a portable sawmill and lumber processing uses on an existing Crown lease area that is already licensed to the applicants for log sorting and scaling. The operation is located, as you heard, in the Hook Bay area, which is on the Alberni Inlet, approximately 18 kilometers southwest of Port Alberni. The conditions of use are included within the TUP that are authorized by the bylaw, and at this time, staff recommend that the board receive the public hearing minutes and report and give second and third readings to bylaw P1520. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Do we have any comments from Director? We have Director Siga. Go ahead.
I was just going to put forward the motion that the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors receive the public hearing report.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Director Roth is seconding. Thank you. Any more discussion on the motion? Okay, no more discussion. We'll vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. You want to do the second one, Director Siga? Yeah, go ahead and do the second one.
I move that bylaw P1520, a bylaw to authorize the issuance of a temporary use permit, be read. Read a second time.
We forgot to
do the first one
yep.
first. You skipped the line. Can you go back and do this, the minutes? You did the report, you didn't do the minutes. Are you muted? Yes, you are muted.
I am having problems. Okay, so the second one is that the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors receive the public hearing minutes.
That would be correct. Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Okay, no, Director Roth, thank you. Do I have any discussion on the motion? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay, now you can do what you did before.
Do we need a first reading?
They haven't done the second time, have we yet? Second. They'll do the second time one. The one you started stopped halfway through.
Oh, okay, that I move that bylaw P1520, a bylaw to authorize the issuance of a temporary use permit, be read a second time.
We have a motion, we have a seconder, seconded by Director Roth. Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. And then the last one, if you wouldn't mind.
I move that bylaw P1520, bylaw to authorize the issuance of a temporary use permit, be read a third time.
The motion, we have a seconder, seconded by Director Roth. Okay, any more discussion? And then, okay, all those in favor of the motion? Opposed? And it is carried. Okay, planning matters. B, TUP 24012 Flynn 245 Albion Crescent, Long Beach.
Thank you very much. This is a temporary use permit application for a short-term rental of a portion of a home located in the Millstream area of Long Beach. The rental would allow for up to 4 guests within an existing 2-bedroom self-contained secondary suite within the lower level of the house. The Long Beach Advisory Planning Commission reviewed the application at their February 18th meeting, where they supported the application as proposed. The conditions of use are outlined in the report. One that I will highlight that is the addition of the host registration requirements for the province in compliance with the new requirements of the Short-Term Rental Accommodations Act, which will come into effect on May 1st. At this point, staff recommend that the board proceed with the public input and the neighbor notification process prior to making a final decision on the application. And as part of our final application review, a health and safety inspection would be completed by the building inspector as well. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you for that. Are there any questions from director? Seeing none, would someone like to make the motion? It's Director Boyko.
I will make the motion. I thought, okay, hold on. Oh, it's moved on me here. It might be faster to find someone else. I gotta
I
scroll
can
back
make the
up.
motion if you'll second it, Fred.
I will second it.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I move that the Alberni Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors consider issuing temporary use permit 24012, subject to completion of a health and life safety inspection by the ACRD building inspector and neighbor notification according to S494 of the Local Government Act.
Thank you. And Director Boyko, you're seconding it?
I will gladly second that. Thank you.
Okay. Any more discussion on the motion? Seeing none, call for a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Okay, 8.2, all directors. AD 24002 Shaheen, 7825 McCoy Lake Road, Spoke Lake. Alex.
Thank you. This is the Agricultural Land Commission application that we heard from the delegation at the start of the meeting. The property is a 32.4 hectare property located in the McCoy Lake Road area. Just as a bit of background, as you heard, the application was first considered by the board in December 2024, where the board resolved that it was disposed to deny the ALC application, and that prior to doing so, the applicants were invited and offered the opportunity to present their own case as to why it should be supported. The applicants do intend to subdivide the property into 8 lots that would be ranging from 2.1 hectares to 12.1 hectares with some new road construction that would be off the Sterling Arm Drive side. The east portion of the property is actively farmed with the majority of the remainder being treed, as we heard from the applicants earlier in the meeting. The application was considered by the Agricultural Advisory Committee in December as well. And at that meeting, the committee passed a motion to not support the application. And at the time, citing agricultural capability of the forested area for cattle and the net loss of agriculture that the proposed subdivision would represent. There is background information provided in the report on the agricultural soil capability, at least what we know about it right now, a conceptual subdivision layout and maps of the property as you've seen. I will highlight that the staff recommendation is recognizing that the existing zoning of the property and the OCP land use designation do support subdivision to a 2 hectare minimum. So the staff recommendation is put forward to forward this on to the Agricultural Land Commission to allow the ALC to make the decision on the application under their own regulations. And if the board wishes to deny the application, there is a suggested motion provided at the beginning of the report to not forward the application onto the ALC. And I'll leave it at that and answer any questions.
Thank you for that. Do any of the directors have any other questions? Oh, Director Roth.
I am curious to see how this whole process works and what the ALC would say about it. It just makes me wonder, especially having Colin Fry involved. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any more? Director Trussier.
When I looked at the map, that whole area, very large portion of that area is all designated agricultural land reserve. So why is this going to be exempted when all that area is very similar? So that just seems kind of odd to me that they try to take that out. when all the rest of the area is agricultural land reserve? So it's just a question. It just seems odd.
Thank you. I think Alex would like to answer that.
Yes, thank you. Just to clarify, so the application isn't to exclude the land from the ALR, it would be to subdivide land within the ALR. So the land would remain within the agricultural land reserve. It would just be subdivided into a number of lots and absolutely, I mean, this is an area that that there is a lot of active farm use and including on this property itself on the east side of this property anyways. So.
You have a follow-up?
So my understanding with the agricultural land reserve is if you divide the property, then you got to be able to show that the property divided is going to be better for farming than the original property was. So, but I guess it's only asking for a division. It's not asking to get it out of the land reserve. So presumably that makes it a little different.
Okay, does Alex want to answer that one?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, that's the case that the applicants will need to make that you know, the Land Commission has a mandate to protect agricultural land and you know, as they review these types of applications, they're looking at that mandate and they're wanting to see what the benefit to agriculture is. And you know, if this were to be moved forward to the Land Commission for their decision, I'm sure they would be asking the applicants to make that case.
Thank you. And you have, no, that's it? More questions?
No, that's fine for questions.
Okay, I now have Director Boyko.
Yes, thank you. I think the subdivision will keep it in the ALR, but now they can potentially build because they're larger units. They can put 16 homes on 8 different properties. Is that correct, Alex?
Yes, absolutely. The LC allows the one larger home and one secondary home for each lot. So it could be up to 16 homes.
Right. So my follow-up question is, I was in the meeting where this was not recommended to go to the Agricultural Land Commission with the thoughts of 2 local farmers that have experience in this exact area. And they say that this area is good for agricultural use, and splitting it up may not be the best for agriculture because now you'll have potentially 16 different families living on this area, and densification will increase. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for that. Any more discussion from directors? Okay, but any director would like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion. That Alberni Clayoquot Regional District Board Directors forward ALC application AD 24002 to the Agricultural Land Commission for decision.
Okay. Moved and seconded by Director Solda. Any more discussion on the motion? Seeing none, is a vote all in favor? All opposed? Okay.
Carries because everyone didn't let their hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it's close, should we record this and make sure everyone knows exactly what's going on?
It did pass, but not everyone voted, so that's why I'm taking a quick look. But it passed, so it is carried.
And that's just only electoral area directors, right? For this planning matter?
No, it's all directors. So they moved it out of the planning matters from 8.1 to 8.2, says all directors on it. You notice, did everybody realize that it's all directors?
Well, I remember that. I'm just wondering why that happened. We're done. Thank you.
Okay, it's all done. Okay, great. Moving on, reports. Are there any reports? No. 1.1 staff reports. 9.1 staff reports. Short-term rentals enforcement update, Alex.
Sure, I'm happy to give a quick update on this. So a report is provided on bylaw enforcement activities relating to short-term vacation rentals and the new STR host registry requirements that are provided within the Short-Term Rental Accommodations Act. As of May 1st, STR hosts are required to register with the province, and an STR online platform such as Airbnb, Vrbo, and Facebook Marketplace will be required to ensure that STR listings comply with the registration requirements. Hosts that do not comply with the provincial legislation may have their listings taken down as of May 1st and have future bookings that may be canceled as of June 1st. So ACRD manages short-term rentals through the temporary use permit process, as many of us know, and that is following a policy that was adopted by the board in 2018. As of today, there are 19 active short-term rental TUPs that are issued within the region, and more that are working their way through the approval process. As part of the host registry application, the property owner must provide confirmation that the rental complies with the local government bylaws, and local operators will be required to provide valid TUPs to the province. So while efforts have been made to ensure SDR operators meet the ACRD's TUP process, the majority of SDR operators that we see within the region continue to operate outside of the regulations and without valid permits. So the new registry will provide an additional enforcement tool to support the ACRD's efforts to encourage uptake of that process. A timeline of enforcement activities over the next 3 or 4 months is provided within the report to help ensure that operators are complying with the provincial regulations. That timeline includes a public education component to build knowledge within the region about the new registry requirements, updating our internal tracking of existing STRs, engaging with the property owners that are operating without a valid TUP, helping those operators apply for the TUPs, and then ultimately reporting illegal SDRs to the province and working with their enforcement team to remove listings where appropriate. There's background information provided in the report. I will highlight that the host registry process applies to all operators within the province and does not relate to the principal residency requirements that apply to municipalities that are larger than 10,000 residents and communities that have chosen to opt in. The ACRD board chose to not opt into those requirements, so they do not apply, but the host registry requirements do. So I think I'll leave it at that. The report also includes a history of short-term rental temporary use applications that we have received and dealt with over the years, and the public tracker of active STRs that is updated and provided on the ACRD website. I'll answer any questions.
Okay, thank you for that. Are any questions? Director Boyko.
Yes, thank you very much. I think everyone can go look on the temporary use notes that are put out in the planning department where you can see how many active temporary use permits are there. I'd say there's probably 20 in the entire regional district. So the vast majority of these are not, I don't want to say illegal, but they are not permitted. So if we want to actually go through and enforce this, we are going to have a severe backlash in our community. And I will make the motion to not enforce this. So I'll make the motion that the Alberni Claycourt Regional District Board of Directors direct staff to halt enforcement of illegal STRs.
We have
And that's just the regional, that's not city stuff.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. We have Daniel here right now.
I don't want to take away from it being seconded, so clearly it is. I do want a point of clarity in terms of not enforce. Currently, we do respond to complaints. So is this motion saying that we would now not respond to complaints received? It's an important distinction.
Just to clarify, the current enforcement that we have, I think we should keep that going. However, the new enforcement based on the provincial rules that you have not sent in, what is it, $500 to the province to keep your operation going in this area, even though we are not tracking it and we are not looking for the principal residency requirements, that the new requirement will not be enforced. Yes, thank you.
Okay, just so we know, we had a motion on the floor, seconded by Director Roth, and we have Alex like to talk to this.
Yeah, sorry, just to add to the discussion a little bit there, that these new regulations are provincial regulations, and they do have their own enforcement team that they will be dealing with this as well. So I mean, we can look at altering the way that our ACRD and enforcement interacts with that team, but I don't think that as a local government we can exempt ourselves from this regulation, as it applies uniformly across the province, and they do have their own enforcement action that would take place as people attempt to register their STRs without the valid TUP.
Okay, okay, we have Director Steer. Your hand went down.
Yeah, thank you through the chair. Alex did answer that, and there, if anybody tuned into Tofino's STR conversation last night, it has been a very hot topic in my community. I just wanted to say that Alex is absolutely correct, and there is some, and the only comment I'll make on that around the enforcement, those that are going to abide by the rules by registering with their properties with the province as is required. And then the platforms also have to register, and they will not be able to, if somebody doesn't have a valid, in the ACRD's case, a valid temporary use permit, they will not be able to register on those platforms. So that is one issue that they may encounter. So I just wanted to reiterate that, and thank you, Alex, for the clarity.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm sort of confused because what we're saying is there are people that are doing it legally by spending their money here and coming through, and then we won't enforce those that do it illegally. And if we're trying to keep our revenue streams going, wouldn't it be smarter to just keep things going legally? Because I know Mr. Director Boyk was all about making sure the revenue streams continue, and this seems to be exactly the opposite of what you just said. So Director Boyk, I'll go ahead.
Yeah, this revenue stream goes to the province and it's just a tax grab on that point. It does not come to the ACRD at all. So that's kind of a moot point. Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm all for getting more money properly, but I'm not going to go penalize taxpayers to a different thing just because the current government's doing its thing. But I'm going to stop. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Director.
So just to top on that, so what happens to the people who are doing it legally and the ones that are doing it illegal? I mean, it's like, hey, it's like a Trump world. It reminds me, I'm doing it illegal. Who cares what you guys think? So I'm just having a problem with that one.
Okay, thank you for that. Director Boyk, is your hand still up or did it go up again? Which one is it?
No, I can talk about what Councillor Solda just mentioned. It is a question of legal and illegal, and basically when the province changes their rules, all of a sudden a lot of people are illegal. When they changed the rules last year, we decided not to opt into the extra regulations. Now they changed the rules again, and we're deciding, I would like to decide that we do not enforce the new rules because things have changed again. Now, we're using the temporary use permit, which has been in force since 2018, I believe. And you're allowed to do it for 3. I see Alex nodding his head. Thank you. You can do it for 3 years, and then you have to do it for a second 3 years and apply for it, and then you're done. So there is no option for someone to keep doing it legally that started in 2018 next year. So until we have a method for someone to do a temporary use permit more than twice for a total of 6 years, this whole thing is invalid and a waste of time. Because if you're trying to do it legally, you cannot. So it's a very confusing topic, and it all comes back to the province, and until they get their things sorted out, this whole thing is a waste of time, in my opinion. And it is true too. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. I have Director Solda.
Yeah, so couldn't we put a temporary pause and then write to the, excuse me, to the provincial government, here's what we are not going to do, and see how they come back on us. I just think illegal and illegal is the catch-22. Damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Okay, thank you for that. Any more discussion from any directors? No? So the motion, Director Roth.
Yeah, I think that we would be wise to support the people. It just makes sense, and let this play out. It's not something we have to jump into. Thank you.
Okay, and we have Director Solda.
I have no problem supporting the people, but it's all the people. It's not the people who are doing it illegal or illegal. It's just, we expect people to follow the rules, and here we are not following them. And I just feel very uncomfortable having people do it who are doing it legal and people who are not going to do it legal. I mean, I just have an issue on that, is maybe it's more morality or morale or whatever on it. I don't know, whatever you want to call it, but, I just think we have to sometimes follow channels and, yeah, I'm just having an issue.
Okay, thank you. I have Director Steer, Director Roth, and, Director Siga, Director Roth, and Director Steer, your hand goes up and down a few times.
Yeah, well, once you acknowledge me, I take it down. Yeah, and I didn't want to belabor this anymore, but the ramifications for the individuals is that they won't be able to have their listings on one of the platforms such as Airbnb or VRBO. So that'd be the ramifications of those that do not choose to register there, and the potential implications that the province has indicated on there, that they do have the legislative authority to impose fines themselves. But frankly, the only way that they would know is if it was complaint driven, frankly. So the bottom line is, it is a provincial thing right now. The Alberni Clayoquot Regional District did not opt into the extending requirements. So in many ways, this is mute. Those that don't choose to register their TUP with the province for in lieu of a business license will not be able to be on one of those platforms.
Thank you for that. I have Director Siga, then Director Roth.
Thank you. Yeah, I just to provide a little bit more background for Director Solda. In my experience, there's been at least 5 iterations of registered approval of accommodations provided by homeowners. And that's going back to 2007 when I first got involved in this. And I see it as a lot of people are renting out spaces in their homes because they simply can't afford to pay the taxes now. And I see this as money that's coming into our communities as opposed to tourist dollars that are going to larger corporate-owned hotels. So I am definitely in support of the motion to, and even though it is a moot point, I think at some point we need to take a stand for our community members. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Director Roth.
Thank you. I just wanted to note that I saw posts all morning on Facebook, and this is to Director Steer. I saw one from the chamber in your area, and there was a lot of angry people, but I don't totally understand the issue, so it's a hard one for me to follow. But yeah, there was a lot of anger. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Any more discussion on the directors? Seeing none, we have a motion on the floor. Can you read back the motion, Heather?
Yeah, and please let me know if I don't have it correct. That the Alberni Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors directs staff to halt action on illegal short-term rentals, excluding complaint-based short-term vacation rentals.
Okay. Is that good enough, Director Boyd? I capture it?
Yes, but it should be except for complaint-driven complaints, not complaint-driven short-term rentals. I don't know if that makes sense. But yes, if someone's made a complaint against it and that there's a problem, then that's a problem. Now, we're only looking at the new enforcement from the province because there is a moot point because the temporary use things expire and there's no way to continue that on. And everything Director Siga just said, I agree with all that. It's great. Thank you.
Okay. My problem is between the people who are doing it the legal way and not doing it the illegal way, and I see a hand beside me, so go ahead.
I'm sorry for wordsmithing, but I'm with your feedback, Director Boyko. I was just thinking, so to change that to say, other than enforcing the existing complaint-driven process. That makes sense? Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any more discussion? Now we know the motion. All those in favor of the motion? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All those opposed? Motion carried. Okay, B, 2025 ACRD Electoral Area Full Housing Needs Report Engagement Plan. Alex.
Thank you very much. A report is provided for information on the full housing needs report project that is currently underway in the electoral areas. The report includes an engagement plan that was prepared by the consultants, Macola Development Services, that is leading this work with staff. The project team is currently meeting with our advisory planning commissions, with the first couple meetings held in the last week, and beginning initial engagement with the public with an online survey that launched this week as well on the Let's Connect page. So a report and presentation for the board on the initial findings in community engagement is expected later in spring, and we will let the board know when that's ready to go.
Yeah, thank you for that. Any discussion? Seeing none, would someone like to make the motion? Dr. LaCourcier, go ahead.
I'll move that the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors receive the 2025 ACRD Electoral Area Housing Needs Report Engagement Plan as presented.
Thank you. Moved and seconded by Director Solda. Any more discussion? Okay, seeing that, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, C, Regional Parks Working Group Update. Jenny.
Thank you. Yes, so we had our first meeting of the working group on February 20th. As the board might remember, we brought the terms of reference to the meeting in August for the Committee of the Whole, and we did recruitment from November 6th to December 15th. We had 12 interested applicants, and because we have 20 seats available, all of those were accepted. That was representatives from the Backcountry Horsemen, the Riders of Alberni Valley, Hill Climbers, Broombusters, Alpine Club of Canada, Alberni Valley Nature Club, and Alberni Valley Outdoor Club, as well as 2 unaffiliated Spark Lake residents and 3 unaffiliated Cherry Creek residents. But after the meeting, we got a whole bunch of extra interest, which was fantastic. And it's always good. Sometimes it just takes knowing that a meeting's occurring for interest to occur. So what we've done is we've extended the opportunity for interested parties to apply, and we'll keep that open until March 31st. And then I assume we will absolutely be able to fill all 20 spots. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that. I have Director Solda.
Yeah, Director Haggard has asked me to forward, to ask the board to invite, maybe we should have representation from T-Shot and Hoopachesset be on the committee. I don't know if that's happened, and also maybe the Bamfield, because the Alberni Inlet Trail goes to Bamfield. So she suggested Bamfield rep be put information, maybe the Hueyat First Nation might be interested in be part of the board. Part of the committee, I should say. So I'm just repeating what was asked of me, and I'll put it out there.
Thank you. I was duly noted.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. One of the ways that we advertised was through our quarterly interest and invitation to all of the municipalities and First Nations. And specifically, I think we actually reached out to Hoopachesset and Sashot additionally. So we will continue to do that and keep it open. And they are listed as potential members, First Nations representation for the committee. Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. I have Director Boyko.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we had our town hall, we passed out some forms and we had lots of interest. And I think you should have more than 7 new people on there on the list, but because I handed out 10 forms and they all came back and I passed them on. But I'll make sure I pass it on that this is open until the end of the month and we should be able to fill up all the 20 spots. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that.
Do you want me to make the motion too?
I'm looking for any more directors have any discussion first. Seeing no discussion, if you'd like to do that.
If I can find the thing. Hold on.
8C.
Yeah, I just moved on my little screen here. I will make a motion that the board of directors receive staff reports A through C. Thank you.
Do a motion, do a seconder? Seconded by Director Solda, sorry. Any more discussion? Okay, call for a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Received. Carried, received. And now we're down to 9.2 area reports. We're going to go to electoral area A, Bamfield. I don't see anybody on there from Bamfield. So we'll go to electoral area B, which would be Director Boyko.
Thank you very much, Chair. Things are starting to pop up. I got daffodils popping in my yard, so spring is on the way. People will be starting to clean up after winter and fix, I think all the damage from the big storm on most of the farm buildings is now fixed in the Beaufort area. We had our town hall a week and a half ago, had 100 people there. It was very well attended. It actually went for 3 hours. We had a record time. We actually had Daniel and Terry there talking about financial discussions, and it was great. And I think we'll keep that going once a year in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Electoral area C, Long Beach, Dr. Siga.
Thank you very much. Yes, we have our OCP open house tomorrow, and I'm really looking forward to meeting and getting feedback and getting on to the values and other stages of the OCP.
Thank you for that. Electoral area D, Sproat Lake, which is now Renee Curcier. Do you have anything? No report?
Nothing to report.
No report. Electoral area E, Beaver Creek, Dr. Roth. Do you have anything?
Thank you. I spoke earlier about the concerns people are raising about how we're spending, so that's good for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Now it's electoral F, and it is me. So I have a report. I talked to the community hall there about their funding or lack thereof because the community works funds got changed in February, right? And they have no way of accessing funds. We're looking at other ways we can try and get funds, and whatever else we can do. They have a leaky roof and they'd like to get it fixed. So we're trying to look every avenue we can to get the funds to them to keep the hall open and functioning. It's a nice big hall, and it's part of the emergency response part of one of them there. The second thing is the water board. And going through their minutes, I have a motion here, and I'll read the motion, but I'll explain it later. The Cherry Creek Waterworks District Board of Trustees schedule a referendum on the proposed conversion of the district to a regional service for June 4th, 2025. The Cherry Creek Waterworks District Board of Trustees agree to hire Wendy Thompson as a referendum consultant to assist with this process. So I reached out to the water board about this to try and get something going, and they've told me that it might not be June 4th anymore, it might be June 14th. It's a variable thing. So I'm going to try and coordinate with the Cherry Creek Waterworks District because it is their conversion study and they're the lead on this to see if we can coordinate a time to do a town hall and see if we get the HRD staff there and if we can get it recorded so we can move on. But they're the lead, so I will be talking to them as soon as I can to see what we can do about this. So that's all I have for now. City of Port Bernie. The minions is right here. Quick minions, here you go.
Thank you. As I shared earlier, we have completed and passed our budget at a roughly 14% increase, down from 20, which then went up to 25 with some changes and down to 14. I think I'll just say that it has been a very challenging year budget-wise, and we have had to make a lot of, I think, reductions and changes to our service levels that we haven't really contemplated in the past. And I think it's important to note, because some of these changes don't happen overnight, that although we have passed our budget, we are continuing on work on review of some of our service levels and services that we provide still, with anticipation that we probably will continue to reduce some of the services further as we work throughout the year. So it's not really the place we want to be. My position is certainly always that I believe we should invest in our community to make it a place that people can enjoy living and people can choose to live. But I think at this point in time, with some of the things happening in the industrial tax space, we have had to find ways that are outside of the norm to reduce, and we're going to continue to do that. Thank you.
Give her that. Okay. Josephino, Director Steer.
Yeah, thank you. No report today.
Thank you. That was short and sweet. I'm going to skip the next two because they're not here right now. And I have Toquat Nation, Dr. Johnson.
So Toquat has the People's Assembly at the end of the month, and That's to present the annual budget. And on the 31st, we will be approving it. So that's about it.
Thank you for that. I will. Edward Corsier, you want, yes?
Yeah, can I go back and just do a short report from Sprout Lake? We had the members of the regional district, Daniel came, Michael, Terry came and spoke to us, and I'd like to thank them very much. And unfortunately, that night I got tied up with work and I missed it. But from what I hear, it was really worthwhile. I really got some good comments back. So I'd like to thank you for coming. Thank you.
You would have loved it. There was a lot of numbers being thrown around.
Thank you for that. Yeah, they did come out to Cherry Creek too. It wasn't a large crowd, but that allowed the people in the community to talk one-on-one with whoever they wanted to, not in the forum, so we got more discussions going that way. And now we're at the very end of the list, and Chuck, was it government? Mr. Angelo? There you are. There's two of you. Two,
Yeah, Mariah's not here. You said you're trying to say.
Sorry. Okay, sorry. Director Mr. go ahead.
I think you're muted, Lavana.
Lavanda, can you hear us? We're trying to reach you for your.
I'm not sure what's happening there. It does say unmuted on my other one that I use for my audio. But yeah, so Ucluelet First Nation, and we have officially, we do have our new Director of Operations on board now, and her name is Christine Brown. And we're very, very excited to have this transition. So she's onboarding for the next 3 to 6 months, and she did make the move to Ucluelet, of course, all the way from Manitoba. And so that's happening right now, and we just are in the process of putting together a new department, which is the Department of Education. And we were doing the hiring process, and we have hired one of our own citizens, which is really great. And they will also be transitioning back to the island and back to the province. So this is amazing. And we just hope that, yeah, that the transition does happen in full, confident that it will, and it'll be a really great new step for our department coming in. And that is my little bub saying hi. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that report. Good. Can I get a motion to accept? Motion, motion to accept. So moved, seconded by, moved by Director Sola, seconded by Director Garcia. Any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Okay, opposed, carried. Item 10, unfinished business. I don't believe there is any, is it unfinished or late?
Unfinished, or yeah, we put it in unfinished business.
Okay, it's unfinished. Okay, Director Boyko.
Yes, I had a chat with someone involved with this, and we're going to look into it on the March 26th meeting in full and proper, and there will be a report from staff to address it. Thank you.
Thank you for that. That was quick. Okay, so no more unfinished business? Any late business? All right. Question period. Anything from, we had a gallery full when we started. We're all gone now. Anybody from Zoom?
So there's no responses in email. So in Zoom, Mike Lasowski says, how can Mayor Minions talk about losing $1 million mill tax and then allow the acquisition of robo toilets? How much is freight to get them here? How much is it to set up and maintain? Don't come up at the regional district for your shortcomings. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. So now we're into recess, where we go into the hospital district portion, and we'll once again have a vote. Is that correct? Who is the one starting?
We're gonna have to vote again, but
Yes.
can we take like a 5-minute recess?
Want to take a 5-minute recess? We'll take 5 minutes. We'll get back here at 4:25.
Yeah.
Okay, 5-minute recess.
Okay, folks. Oh, I realize that it's not quite 4:25, but I will fill airspace for about another 15 seconds. And hopefully, there we go. Images are popping back up online. And I feel like I see enough movement. So I'm going to brave doing the basic logistics here, folks. Good afternoon. I would like to call the Hospital District Board of Directors meeting to order. I want to recognize that we are conducting our business today on the unceded traditional territories of the Tayshat and the Huipachesset. Grateful for that and want to take time to acknowledge and appreciate it. As our regular chair and vice chair are not here, we need to start by appointing a chair, and I see a motion. Renee.
I'd like to appoint Mike Sparrow as the chair for this meeting.
Thank you. And it is seconded by Director Solda. Seeing no other, I think that everyone's comfortable. We will hand it over to Director Sparrow.
Okay, thank you for that. We are drawing item 2 already. We can get moving along here. Approval of the agenda. Is there any additions from directors? Any additions from the corporate officer?
No additions.
No additions to corporate. Any approval of the agenda? Moved by Director Solda, seconded by Director Corsier. Great. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Any declarations of conflict of interest? Okay, seeing none, move on. 4A, adoption of minutes, Board of Directors meeting, February 12th, 2025. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, can I get a motion to move? Move to adopt, okay, by Director Solda, seconded by Director Boyko. Great. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 5, petitions, delegations, and presentations. No one's here. Correspondence for action? None. Correspondence for information? We have one here. Island Health. Site work to get underway for the new BC Cancer Center in the Nanaimo Regional District Hospital. And public service announcement, winter wellness tips. Anyone discuss any of these or pull them out? Seeing none. Anybody want to make the motion? Director Boyko, seconded by Director Steer. Those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, 8, request for decision on bylaws. 8A, request for decision annual budget for the years 2025, 2029. Would that be Terry? It is.
Great, thank you. So we're just looking for adoption of the 2025 to 2029 annual budget for the hospital district. It's a tax requisition of the same as the prior year, 1.836 million, and we gave first reading to it in February. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that. Any questions from directors? Director Steer.
No questions, but and if there are no others, I can make the motions. That the Alberni Clayoquot Regional Hospital District Board of Directors give second reading the bylaws cited as Alberni Clayoquot Regional Hospital District 2025 to 2029 annual budget number 139.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Second by Director Roth. Any questions? Seeing that, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
I'll move third reading.
I will have a second reading. Oh, that's third reading. Sorry, my error. My error. Thank you. Okay, we have a motion seconded by Director Roth. Any discussion? No. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
And I will move adoption of the 2025 to 2029 annual budget number 139.
We have a motion seconded by Director Johnson. Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Reports. There is nobody here for the Banfield Health Center. You can see. So, Alberni Lakeport Continuing Care Society, Dr. Siga, their report? I think we're muted.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there will be an AGM upcoming and I can report back more information after that. Thank you.
Thank you. West Coast Native Healthcare Society, Penny's not here. Do you have a report, Renee? No, you have no report. Okay. The Funeral General Hospital, West Coast Directors, Director Steer, would that be you?
No report.
No report. Thank you. Alberni Lakewood Health Network, again, Penny Cote or Director Siga.
Thank you. Yeah, we have a meeting. I believe it's tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you for that. West Coast General Hospital, Alberni Valley Directors, anybody here? No, they're both away right now. Any other reports to report? All right, seeing that, can I get somebody to make the motion to accept, receive the reports? All right. No reports to receive, okay, so there's no motion. Great, unfinished business, there's no unfinished business. No late business. Okay. Question period, there's nobody in person
And no questions.
and no questions, okay. And we're down to item 13, adjourn, motion to adjourn. So moved by Director Solda, seconded by Director LaCourcier. All those in favor? Okay, opposed, and that is carried. So now we are back to this one here. We're going to reconvene. We're going to now go to the in-camera portion of right here. There's a motion to close the meeting to the public as per community charter sections 91A, personal information about identifiable individual who holds or is being considered for a position as an officer, employee, or agent of the regional district or another position appointed by the regional district. The motion, that's just the reason for going in camera. So now we're going to go in camera. Wait a minute, stop.